Thank you so much for being here to Ruidosa Art Collective's El Barrio's first episode of Amor Y Pasion, and in collaboration with the National Museum of Mexican Art presents Latina Frontwomen of Chicago. Thanks for being here. So I will say this event is going to be around like 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. We will have a 10 to 15 minute intermission in an hour, so like at like 1 p.m. where we can like take a break, go to the bathroom, chill, reboot and all that stuff. But then about like at 1:15 we're gonna come back in here and continue the rest of the discussion. We should end around like 2. But I'm not sure if you were told already, please keep your phones on silent. Please keep them on vibrate. This is a live recording session. So we want to be sure to be mindful of the guest speakers. And yeah, I think that's about it. All right, that's pretty much it. So once again, thank you so much for being here. My name is Yesher Regalado, one of the founders of Ruidosa Art Collective. And I'm also the frontwoman of Latina Noir. And I'll let whoever wants to go next. Introduce yourselves, guys.
Okay. I'm Carly. I am the singer of a band called Snuffed, and I have a new band called Pasture. Also, they're both hardcore bands in like different kind of like variation genre of hardcore. So that's my band.
Mm-hmm. My name is Kat Ayala, and I front the band Scarlet the Moor, and it's like an alternative rock band.
My name is Rosalba Valdez, and I also have a band. I call them Los Valientes, but my project is self-titled. We do Latino music, bilingual, very social justice focused.
My name is Jessica Covarrubias. I'm from the band Future Nobodies. We're like a post-punk dream popish band. We incorporate Spanish into our lyrics. Yeah.
My name is Mariah Clone. I'm representing myself. I do have a band. They don't like when I call them a name or anything, so they're just iconic. But I would say I do a mix of genres, kind of everything.
Okay. Thank you so much. So today we'll actually be discussing our journeys in music through the past, present, and the future. In other words, the beginning, the middle, and the somewhat end. So the stories we are all about to share are an integral component in who we are today, and in this case, how we became Latina Frontwomen from Chicago. So we're just gonna go ahead and get started, guys. So starting from the beginning, we're gonna start off with honoring our ancestors. Who do we come from? Who are our parents, extended families, people who raised us? I guess I can start off. I was born and raised in Chicago. I grew up in the North Side in Logan Square neighborhood. My parents are actually deaf, they're disabled. They were born that way. And I was always told it's kind of ironic that even though my parents were deaf and couldn't hear, that I ended up loving music and being a singer. But really how I kind of got into music was because of my Mamacita, which is what our first album is named after, Ariano. She would take me to church every single Sunday, and no kid likes going to church, so the only thing that would make me happy being there is singing with her. And that was kind of like my first introduction to like music and singing and all that stuff. That's kind of like how it started for me as far as like my family and all that stuff. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to.
I'm actually from a small town in Northwest Indiana. I moved to Chicago in 2015 because I felt very kind of constrained there. There's not really a lot of people doing music. There's not really a lot going on. So I wanted to move somewhere where I knew people. I already had friends in Chicago, and somewhere where I could go to a show every night if that's what I wanted to do. My great-grandparents are from Nuevo León, Mexico. So my grandparents on my dad's side are first generation in the United States. They're from Texas. And then my mom is actually born in Germany. And she was born on like a military base because my grandpa was in the army. So my grandparents on my mom's side my grandma's from Germany, and then as far as like my grandpa, I'm not too sure of his lineage. I think maybe I'm not 100% sure, but yeah. So I'm from Northwest Indiana, and I've been here for about 9-ish years now. So being in Chicago has really allowed me to evolve and you know, be able to create with other people, like-minded people.
Nice. I don't know if you guys also want to share too.
I'll share, sure. So my name is Rosalba again. My parents are immigrants. They're from Michoacan, Mexico. Anybody from Michoacan? And yeah, my dad's actually also a musician. And I definitely take inspiration from their story, their heritage, their culture, and even my grandparents, because I don't know, every time I go to Mexico and I see my grandma, I get to hug her and just talk to her. It's just so beautiful where we come from. There's this picture of my great grandparents on my mother's side where they're just like, you can tell they're just like so poor, like, you know, we barely had anything. It was maybe only 10 years ago where like my grandparents in Mexico were using an outhouse, you know, it wasn't even like what we have here, right? Like those little things that we take for granted. So I definitely take a lot of inspiration from that, and yeah, that's where I'm inspired.
My parents are from Mexico. My mom was born in Guerrero and she was raised in Yucatan. My dad is from Laredo, but they basically grew up in the US. My mom came here when she was like 7, and my dad when he was like 1. So yeah, they grew up here. Yeah, I grew up in the Brighton Park area. I lived in like one house my entire life. I kind of grew up watching my dad draw and stuff. He'd collect comic books and he would draw like X-Men and stuff. I have this like vivid memory of coming home from school and seeing him sitting at the kitchen table and just with like markers all across the table, and he was like drawing something from a comic book, and I just remember being like really in awe at like how talented he was, and it was different from my friends. Like my parents put me onto like, you know, New Order, Depeche Mode, all sorts of like 80s music. So I guess that's kind of where I started to get inspired. Like, yeah.
Okay, I was raised in Cicero. I lived with my grandma for a really long time. Both my parents are musically inclined, my grandparents musically inclined, and my great-grandparents musically inclined. So music kind of was already instilled in me at like a really, really young age. And I definitely took inspiration from that. Like my mom really liked neo soul growing up, and like I never understood it. I like couldn't understand, and like now that's all I listen to. And my dad liked a mix of genres, and then I shared a room with my brother who only listened to like Paramore, Flyleaf, like Avenged Sevenfold. So like I was kind of like confused on like what genre I liked, because I liked all of them. But my grandpa was the one who kind of like guided me in that direction. He gave me like a guitar when I was like 6. And I didn't know how to play, obviously, but I like tried and like I messed around with it. And I think if it wasn't for like someone gifting me an instrument, I think that was like the first initial step into introducing me into the idea of music. I mean, like there's a little bit more than that. Like when I'd get upset, like I'd look out of a car window and like make my own story up, you know, like I'm in the music video, like, but that was like that was like the start of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Both of my parents, well, my dad was born in Texas and his parents came from Monterrey, Mexico. And my mom was raised in Miami, and her mother was from Havana, Cuba. And my grandmother was a teacher and she was a piano teacher. Like neither of my parents are musically inclined at all. Like I didn't grow up with that much musical influence. It was a lot of like pop and like Gwen Stefani and like Ricky Martin and stuff. Like it was just, I just listened to pop. But I didn't have like immediate musical influence from either of my parents, but it was kind of like when I would dig, like my grandmother knew how to play piano really well and she taught it, and my cousin, like my second cousin from Miami, she was in a band like all throughout high school and stuff. And one of my first memories of like really realizing that I would want to try to be in a band was her and her band were recording, and she let me do like backup like gang vocals. I was like 11, and she just had all these guitars and pianos and keyboards, and it was just really interesting because it wasn't like we didn't come from a musical family or anything, but it was just kind of like in these little pockets it came out in weird ways, and so that was cool. I mean,
thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really cool that we all kind of have had similar upbringings when it comes to like being influenced by music, whether it's like directly or indirectly from our family or from our parents, from our extended family. It was always kind of like funny to explain to people that like even though my parents are deaf and they technically can't hear, they can still feel vibrations. And my dad, like ironically so, like he's a huge like music head. Like he loves like rap and like disco and like house music because it's like really bass heavy. So like my first influence to music was like Madonna and like the Doors, and New Order as well. I still have the cassette tapes and the CDs. But yeah, I mean that was kind of just like my direct influence of the first CD. I mean the first CD I was ever given was like a Virgin by Madonna. At the time I didn't even know what a Virgin was. I was just like, this is fun. And I think I was like 7. I was like, oh my gosh. But I was curious, like what are some of like your first like CDs or tapes that you got, whether you liked it or you were given it, and like do you think that maybe they influenced your creativity or your desire to sing great music and stuff?
For sure. I had, if anybody knows, Rebelde, RBD, that was one of my first CDs. But also Justin Bieber, that was one of like the first CDs that I got from one of my best friends. Very pop, which is not exactly what I do now, but super influential anyway in my life. Like I also grew up listening to like B96, 103.5 Kiss FM. It's just, when you're a kid, that's what you want to listen to, right? Like, I don't care what my parents like. I wanted it to be different, so yeah.
I remember my dad had a CD of The Cure, but it was like their greatest hits. And again, he would like be drawing to like all these songs and stuff, and it stuck with me. The Cure is like a really, I think, important band to me. But other than that, I was a huge fan of Britney Spears. I had a boombox.
You too.
Yeah. And I actually think that one of the first CDs I got for it was a Backstreet Boys CD though. Not a huge, I think NSYNC is better, but
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like one of my my first CDs, I guess. But yeah, The Cure definitely, and The Doors. My dad also put me onto that.
Okay, so I was like super into Disney, like Radio Disney, all Disney. Like, and I was gifted this is like a child version of an iPod, right? And they like only come with one album. Brutal. I don't know why they did that. But I was gifted a JoJo one. And like I didn't know who JoJo was at the time, but that's all I could listen to, clearly. And like they put me on to this day. It's like one of my favorite albums. It was like, this girl has range. Like she's so good. Like she has a bunch of like pop and R&B. Like she really knew what she was doing. And then I was also gifted like that same year Hannah Montana. And if you guys know, she changed lives. And to this day, like sometimes I really have to step into that. Like I'm being Miley, no, I'm about to take it off. Hannah Montana. Yeah, those are my. I would say like I take a lot of influence from that even to this day.
The Disney albums, I don't know, they were pretty good. Like watching Disney Channel, I loved like Hilary Duff and Vanessa Hudgens whenever they would put
Every
on music
time,
videos. I'm like, oh my god.
Say okay.
Yes. I'm like, oh my god.
Those producers were working overtime.
I swear. Yeah. How about you guys? What are like some of your first like CDs or tapes are you given?
I've been listening to music as long as I can remember. When I was a kid, I used to have this like big obsession with dinosaurs, and I had this like little portable tape player, and I would just like listen to these tapes, and all the songs like they were like kids music. It was like four kids. It was like about dinosaurs and stuff. And my parents were always listening to music. My mom listened to a lot of like the Supremes, B-52s. Elton John, those are ones that like really stuck with me up until this day. And then, you know, I listened to stuff like Spice Girls, Backstreet Boys, like boy bands, when I got a little bit older, but was still pretty young. And then I remember, I think I was in 4th grade. I was in the car with my cousin and my grandpa, and my cousin put in a CD, and it was Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Oh my god.
Changed my whole life.
Yes.
So that was like a big starting point for me with like heavy music. But I've been listening to music for as long as I can remember.
I feel that. I feel like that moment where you, the moment in the car that it's crazy because an exact similar moment happened to me where my padrino, he put on his Metallica tape in his like super old 90s Toyota car. And like I remember the sound and everything. I remember the smell of the car, and like he put the tape in the tape player. And it was Master of Puppets. That was the first song. And just hearing that intro as like a small child, I was like, oh my god. Like, this is how I feel all the time. Like, this is amazing. Yeah. But yeah, I feel that so much.
I remember finding like Britney Spears like Circus and like Pussycat Dolls CDs in like my kitchen cabinets, because that's where my mom would put her CDs. And so I would listen to those. We had a little CD player. I think the first CD that I bought with my own money was Nimrod by Green Day.
Nice.
And then when like LimeWire was a thing and like iTunes Music was a thing,
Oh my gosh.
I had found that someone, I don't know who, I'm an only child, so it's not like I had an older brother or sister to do this, but it was The Black Parade by The Chemical Romance.
Oh, someone.
Yeah.
Come on, someone.
Someone. It wasn't me. No, it wasn't though. And I just like found it. I don't know if it was just like, I think that was kind of when like YouTube was like downloading, like you just like got it on iTunes. I don't know if it just like, I don't know, but I came across that record. It was like that and like the Shins and the Kooks, and I would listen to all those records, but like My Chemical Romance is the one that like really got me, and I was like, this makes sense. And I was a very dramatic kid. I was very dramatic and theatrical. I tried doing theater. I was not good at it at all. But I loved the drama, and so I think that that record really did it for me.
Yeah. They're so good. I love My Chemical Romance. Even though like I was never like a super diehard fan of them, like I still always like enjoyed them, and even just hearing them in the background and hanging out with friends, like they were always so good. Like the Black Parade is probably like the most universal like love song.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for sharing. That was really, really cool to hear about that. So now we're about to dive into the next part of the discussion, which is the middle. Talking about our bands and our current projects. So the first question I have here is, when did your current project begin? How old are you when it began, and what were your hopes for it? How did you meet your bandmates? My current project began in 2018. It wasn't until someone asked me recently, and I've been saying like, oh yeah, we've been a band for like 5 years. And then I'm like, wait a minute. 2018 was like 7 years ago, or 8, and I was like, oh my god, we've been a band for almost 10 years, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I was 21 when it first began, and I really, as far as like my hopes for it, to be honest, I just wanted to play music and what I wrote And I feel like that's the most like plain boring answer, but it was true. Like I wrote music, I had it written down, I played guitar, I already had all the structures laid out. I just needed people who were down to play with me and liked what I played, and I was really, really lucky to find people to do that with. I know some of you know Janice Espino. He's a lead guitarist of my band Little Snore, and we two kind of really started our band. And it was through the internet. I would post a lot of videos of me playing music, my own songs and covers, and he was just one of those guys that slid into my DMs, was like, hey, that's really cool, we should jam. And I'm like, all right. And that wasn't creepy, shocker, because I know it's super common being a female musician, and like guys are like, oh, that's so cool. But
We should
then
collab.
We should collab.
yeah, we should collab. We should collab. Like, let's like practice. My practice spot. It's like
Is my room.
yeah, it's like bedroom, and you're like on the edge of the bed or something. You're like, I thought we were making
He's
music.
playing Master of Puppets.
Oh my god! I really, really like this song, and I'm just like, dude. But no, and that's something I think is what kind of like made Janice like honestly like my best friend, just because he like did not start off with those intentions. Like, we actually were playing guitar together and singing, and the first song we ever played together was Ring of Fire by Johnny Cash. And it was for his birthday because he wanted to like test out like performance skills. It was so bad. I have a video of it. But yeah, and then like the rest of my bandmates, I kind of met them like over time, and you know, bandmates come and go. But as far as like how it started, it was really me and Jess. But yeah, I don't know if you guys want to share. When did your current project begin? How old were you? And what were your hopes for it? How did you meet your bandmates? Kind of like the origin story of your band.
I started like I like to say a version of Scarlet D'Amour when I was 15 in 2016. And I was a sophomore in high school. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. And needless to say, I wasn't working out. Being in Catholic school just wasn't for me. I was having a really hard time finding kids that were like me, and finding kids that had the same, you know, like hobbies and passions and interests. And I remember just after my freshman year, I was at a Catholic school. I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And, you know, like my dad didn't come from much, and I think he wanted to give me a better life, and he wanted to give me the best education that he thought he could. And you just saw how unhappy I was, and, you know, it also isn't cheap. And so I ended up going to my public school in my district my sophomore year. I had pink hair. I had just learned how to kind of play guitar. I've been playing guitar for a couple of years, not very well. I had been writing a little bit myself, and I was in this chemistry class, and this kid knocked over a glass cylinder, like just immediately in the first 5 minutes of school. And I was like, this is like, what an idiot, you know? And we became friends, and he became, you know, the person that I started this band with. And it was kind of the same thing, but it was like, I didn't know anybody really, and he would just kind of follow me around and be like, hey, I hear you play guitar. Someone said that you play guitar, and I was like, I don't know anybody here, but yes, I do. And he's like, I just started to learn how to play guitar. Like, we should jam. And I said, oh, hell no. I said, no. I'm like, I'm not a jamming kind of person. Like, I like to be in my solitude and write and be bad. And I finally agreed after weeks, and we, you know, started the first version of Scarlet D'Amour. And I think like when I first started, I just wanted to play a show. I always said that. And like, I was kind of into punk at the time, and I was trying to get into like little scenes. There was a girl that also transferred from God knows where, and I was really into punk, and I remember talking to her like, I wish that there were like underground shows like there was in the 80s and stuff. And she's like, what are you talking about? Just go to like Chicago DIY underground, whatever, on Facebook. And that's what I did. She took me to my first couple of shows, and I was just like, I need to play a show. I just want to play a show. So those were my hopes and dreams, just to play one show. My dad was very apprehensive because he grew up kind of old school, and he also grew up like when punk was coming up in Chicago. He was around all of that, and so part of that really scared him a lot. He, didn't want me to get into, trouble or drugs or danger or anything. And I was like, just let me play one show. Just let me play one show. And then one show became 2 shows and 3 shows and 4 shows. And, I've just, again, I've had people come and go. I've, had different sounds and I've tried different things, but it's weird to say that I've been doing this since 2016. It's really strange. It's been a long time coming. And, just want to play more shows.
Oh, definitely. I don't know if you guys wanted to share, like, when did your current project begin? How old were you? How did you meet bandmates?
Sure, I'll share. I've been playing music my whole life. I also got a guitar when I was like 5, 6, and because my dad kind of just handed it to me. I remember I also wrote, I think, my first song when I was like in 1st grade, and my teacher threw it out because I don't know why. She was just kind of mean. But I started, I know, hater. Okay, I won't say her name, but I don't even remember her name. I just remember her face.
She's not worth it.
Yeah, not worth it. But I kept writing music, songs, and when I was 19, 20, that's when I started or decided to do my own project. I was playing in a lot of bands before that. And that's when I was like, you know what? I want to have my own band, do my own thing. And I did. I kind of, not quit, but I stopped playing with the other bands that I was playing with. I was playing with I played with a few different entities, but I really just wanted to express myself too. My first EP is called Yo Soy Mexicana, and this was during a time, it was out of high school too. In high school, I think I was also just like very, very depressed and like anxious. It was like Trump's first term too, when I was like a junior, senior. And just like this feeling of like, oh, like what, Mexicans are all like criminals and rapists? Like, no, that's so messed up. And it just like affected me very deeply to the point where I was like, no, I am Mexican. And I just wanted to express myself. And I feel like the only way that I could express myself was through music, was through singing. And I've continued to do that. And I think it's just like such a beautiful outlet. And it's just like a blessing to be able to express myself through that, especially sometimes when you feel like you don't have anything else. And I guess my first band too, I mean, it was just a bunch of people that I hired to play with me. And it's evolved significantly because I got to a point where I also just wanted to play with people that I felt also cared about my music and that were cool, professional, reliable. Unfortunately, it's been with a lot of men, mostly because I guess that was what I could find in terms of musicians and stuff at the time. I'm trying to change that. It's still a little difficult for me, but it's been a process, and I feel really good right now with like all the people that I play with. And so shout out to all of them. I know we're supposed to shout them out. And I really have just come to a really good place with all of the people that I play with, and just feeling super appreciative of them, because I feel like, oh, these are actually my friends too now, like versus like the beginning where I was kind of just like hiring people and it didn't always feel like we connected, not just like on the music level necessarily, because they were great. All of them have been amazing, but also just like on a person level, like being like, oh, I can be your friend as well. And I also recognize I was like 19, 20, and these were a lot of like older people. So I don't know if it was like a respect thing too. Like they're just kind of like, oh, who is this 19, 20-year-old, whatever. And as I've grown older, it's like, okay, I'm a woman. You have to talk to me like a grown person, right? So all of these things, right? It's very nuanced, but it's evolved, and I'm in a good space right now. And in terms of like what I wanted to do with music, it was really just to express myself and also play shows. Like I was like, oh, I want to play festivals. And then I got to play festivals and I'm like, oh, is this it? Like, dream achieved?
Yeah.
So it's just been a blessing, but yeah, that's for me.
So Future Nobodies was born in my little brother's room in 2020. But I had been making music since I was in high school. I used to hang out with like a bunch of guys. I never really felt like I fit in with girls for some reason, or maybe I was just always intimidated, or I don't know what. So I would just sit with like the burnout dudes, and
Same.
yeah, and they were into music. Like they played instruments and stuff. You know, like one of them was a drummer, and the other one was a guitarist. Like he would bring his like acoustic guitar to the lunch table and stuff. And I just wanted, you know, to like be able to like relate to them and stuff. So so I started, you know, picking up guitar and stuff, and started jamming with them. And it didn't sound good. You know, we'd be in the garage, like just making noise. I guess punk music, because punk is like, you don't have to be good to play punk music. Just power chords and shit, you know. Like you brought up My Chemical Romance, and I used to watch Life on the Murder Scene. That documentary changed my life. I used to watch it all the time on YouTube.
I think it's only on YouTube.
Yeah.
I can't find it anywhere else. It's got like the watermarks.
Yeah. And I remember like Frank Iroh, he's the guitarist in there, right? He wasn't really good at guitar. Like he just kind of do power chords. And I was like, I could do that. Like if he could do that, I could do that. But yeah, that's kind of how I started out. But Future Nobodies, like my brother just showed me the instrumental that became No Te Enojes. And I was like, fuck. I'm like, that's so good. Like I love that so much. I'm like, let's work together. Let's like, you know, let's do something with this. And there was really no intention behind that. We were kind of just having fun. It was my little brother. His name is Angel. It was me, Angel, and Caesar, who is my ex-husband. We were just all kind of like working together and having fun. I know people kind of think it's strange that I'm in a band with my ex-husband. We've always been really close since high school, and we have a daughter together. And I don't know, we've just always been, I always felt like we were soulmates, but maybe not on a romantic level, like on a friendship level. And so we're on good terms. And he's like honestly like the first person that I show like my song ideas to whenever I have a song idea. Like it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'll be like, and I'll email him the track and I'll be like, listen to this right now. Let me know if this is good, please. But yeah, that's kind of where it started, in my brother's bedroom. And we called ourselves Future Nobodies because we weren't gonna do anything with it. Like we were just gonna upload music online and just share it, see what happens. And we didn't think it was gonna go anywhere. Future Nobodies, right? Like,
Crazy.
yeah. But yeah, that's essentially how it started, and it seems to be going somewhere now, which is nice. But yeah, and like being a mom too, like I'm aware that it's really difficult, like to balancing all this stuff out. I know I watch a lot of like music documentaries, and Stevie Nicks, amazing, right? She talks about how Fleetwood Mac wouldn't exist if she had an abortion, right? Like she wasn't gonna be able to do her music if she says that if she had become a mom, that Fleetwood Mac wouldn't exist. And I was reading about Patti Smith yesterday, and she talks about how she got into trouble when she was young, and she also had a baby, but she couldn't support the baby, so she gave it up. And to me, I always thought like, you know what, like I'm gonna make it work somehow. Like I always thought I would follow this map, like similar to like the people I look up to, like my idols. Like if I do things the way they did it, then maybe I have an opportunity. But maybe I'm meant to do it a different way, to maybe show people that, you know what, it is a lot more difficult to do it this way, but it can still be done. And I hope it's inspiring to my daughter. I hope she says she thinks it's cool that that mommy and papi are in a band. And I'm glad that I can show her too that, you know, like, even though we're not together, like, there's still love there, and there's definitely love for music and love for her, to show her that, you know, like, no matter what, you can still do whatever you want to do if you really want to do it. Yeah, I think I got off track a little bit, but yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. So my band, I feel like I didn't start off with a band. Like there's like this crazy rumor, I don't know who started it, but that like I would like walk around school with like a ukulele, and I swear like I don't know, I can't like confirm nor deny that, but like I just like don't know who started that rumor. But because of that, it like just like got around. Like I liked music, I was a musician, and I played music, and I became friends with this like this really talented group of people who were previously in Aiming for Average, who are now in Dead Dog. If you know them, they're like amazing, talented musicians and my best friends. And I was younger than them, and they would do shows, and I would like come to the shows. And at like one point, they like asked me to sub in for a singer that was on their project, and I was like not even old enough to be in this venue. Like we had to get like parent permission, like they had to like sneak me in, like it was like this whole thing. And I performed with them, and I was like, wow, this is so cool, like to perform with other people, and like I don't know, I just really, really enjoyed it. But I knew that there was like initial chemistry there. And then I was still doing like solo stuff. And I still like, I have a hard time trying to remember how this happened, but Junie, which is a guitarist from Dead Dog, he started playing guitar for me. And it's like so ironic too, because out of everybody in Dead Dog, he was like the least one I talked to. He was like really quiet and like, but like we just got along really, really well. And because of that, I feel like he is the initial like rock to me having a band. And like bandmates have come and gone throughout like that time period, but he has been like the foundation of me having a band, and it's still like at the end of the day, like he's the first person to introduce me to having bandmates, and he's still in my band. And I have really, really great band members who like hold it down, because I'm like scattered brain. Like I can't even do it sometimes. Like I have to tap out, but like they always hold it down for me. And I have like a really great bassist whose name is Jade, and a super, super talented drummer named Jeremy. And which is funny, like this story, I remember we were gonna play a festival, and we had no drummer. And we were like at a bar, we were at Cole's bar. And we're like, man, we need a drummer, dude. Like, what are we gonna do? Like, there's a drummer shortage in Chicago. You can't find it. And like the only drummers you know, they moved to LA. Yeah, 5 bands, they moved to LA. They're on tour. Like, there's no drummers.
Get a drum machine.
No, literally. But he was drinking at the bar, and he was like, I'm a drummer. And I was like, wait, for real? Because we have rehearsal like tomorrow. So like, give me your number. and then he came through, and he like played with us. And I remember when he left, he was like, wow, like you guys are really talented. Like I'm excited. And then that was like the first time that I felt like things were gonna be okay. Like we only had like one rehearsal or something before this festival, like, but whatever. But it felt like I didn't know this person and he didn't know me, but it felt like he believed in what we were doing, and he was like dedicated to doing it, and he showed up when we played this initial show. And then after that I was like, oh, we're locked in. Like I'm never replacing him. Like he's great. So yeah, shout out to my bandmates. They really, really hold it down for me, because there's times where they're like, Mariah, we need the set list. Our show's in 2 days. And I'm like, please stop annoying me. Like, give me some time, bro. Like, they're just really great though. I'm so, so, so grateful for them. I don't know what I would do without them, because like being on stage is cool, you know, but like without my bandmates, I can't even do it. I can't even do it anymore. Like I remember I used to all the time, and I would like be at a keyboard or like bring a guitar, and I just like, there's a different aspect of like interacting with the audience when you have other people with you. There's like a different chemistry that you're bringing. And like when it was just me on stage, I kind of felt like a sense of like loneliness. And I know that's not true, but it just felt like it's just me in front of people. And then with my friends, I'm like, oh, we're hanging out. It's a vibe. Like I don't have to worry. And then also like if I make a mistake, which I do sometimes, and they'll be like, no, you're okay, dude. Like it went well. And I'm like, okay, it went well. Versus me crashing out by myself, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, grateful for my band. They're awesome. It came together unexpectedly, but I'm not letting them go. So if you thought you were gonna take them from me, it's not happening.
Thank you for sharing, Mariah. I don't know if Carly can share.
Yeah. So kind of like to piggyback off what you said, like your rock of like having a band, I want to shout out my friend and my bandmate, Christian Guajardo, because if it weren't for him, I would not probably be in a band, or like maybe even like took that chance. Like I feel like he kind of took a chance on me. We met in a Facebook chat, like a band group or whatever, because I was like, hey, I want to do vocals in a band. I kind of want to try it out. He's like, hit me up right away and was like, yo, let's jam. And I feel like at that point we were kind of doing like more like crossover thrash, like metal.
Cool.
And I feel like that genre specifically is very male dominated. Like it's, they're, you know, those groups aren't really looking for women a lot of the time, at least at that point in time, I feel like. So I was really grateful for that. We did have a band briefly. That band didn't work out, but I met my bassist in Snuff, Ryan. I met him at a basement show at Albion House, and we became friends. And then one night, he like posted on Facebook like, oh, I'm going to this show at Empty Bottle, like who wants to hang out? And I was like, oh, I'm going too. So we like met up and we hung out, and then he introduced me to Aaron and Joe, who are the guitarist and the drummer of Snuffed. And he was like, yeah, we have like this music written, but we don't have any lyrics, and we need a vocalist. And my friend was supposed to do it, but she backed out. Like, are you interested? And I was like, yeah, you know, let's jam, like send me the music. So they sent it to me, and I had like, I've always had like I've been writing poetry and just like writing my whole life. So I had tons of ideas, and luckily like we started working with it and we were able to make it work, and we did our demo. And our very first show, I remember them telling me, yeah, we're playing a show. And I was like, what? We're playing a show? When? They're like, yeah, we're opening for Bib. And I was like, holy shit. I was like, what? Because I like love Bib, and so opening for them was like really scary because there's like a bajillion people in this little room. It was at the Galaxy 2.0 RIP, but yeah, that was like Snuff's like first show, and I feel like opening for them was like a very good push because there was such a good turnout for Bib. And then after that, you know, we just kind of kept writing and we started playing more shows, and we've just gotten, I would say, like decent reception. Right now we're just working on like trying to write our next thing and tour. And then I just want to give a brief like acknowledgement to my new band Pasture, which Christian is also in. We have reunited finally. So it's really cool because then we have my friend Eddie. We were living together at the time, but he's playing bass for us. And then our friend Vince. And then I was like, do you have a drummer? I was like, because I don't know any drummers that like
I told you.
are free.
Nobody does.
And Chris was like, actually, there's a guy that just moved into my practice space, like moved here from Springfield. He's like, I'll see if he wants to jam. So that's Joey, our drummer. So we all came together and it worked out, and we just released our first demo.
Congrats, by the way.
So thank you. And we have a bunch of shows next weekend if y'all want to come. So yeah, just working on the next thing now. But I'm really grateful for all my bandmates and their support. And thank you, Chris, specifically for taking a chance on me, because honestly, I don't think I'd be where I am now if it weren't for your like little push and support.
Yes. No, for real. Shout out our bandmates, because we would. Yeah. It's hard to. I feel like if we would just be a solo artist if we didn't have our band to help us put these songs together and perform them live, and also just like help us at shows too, because it's just, oh my god, I can't even.
Yeah, I mean, who's gonna carry the amplifiers?
Oh, dude, like who's gonna remind me that the guitar input goes in here, and then, like play guitar for how many years now? Yeah.
Real.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for sharing. That's so cool. I mean, we're gonna transition now into like relationships, you know, since we were on the topic of like bandmates and all that stuff, and I was thinking about this a lot recently about how like, you know, a band is really is like all about relationships. Like it's about band chemistry and music chemistry and how like we work with people really. But I was curious, and this is something I'm really curious about, like how was it navigating friendships, romantic encounters, or even family, like while being in a band, you know, let alone a frontwoman of one? You know, what challenges do you face, and is it something you still face today? Like I feel like navigating friendships was always kind of like weird, like being a front woman of a band, because you know, like I feel like overall I think I'm a pretty nice person, and I always want to hang out with people and be like, yeah, let's hang out. But then it's like so hard sometimes because I'm so busy, and I also like want to make music. I also want to write. I also want to hang out with my bandmates. And then like with relationships, like romantic encounters, like I've always said, you know, shout out my boyfriend, he's amazing and super supportive and all that. But you know, even before I met him, like it was always so hard dating as a front woman, because they always fall in love with this like idea of you and this picture of you, which is like this really cool person on stage. But then like off stage, they realize like how fucking weird I am, and that I like meow because I don't know how to say things sometimes, and like it's just, you know. And I feel like I don't know, I guess the scope of this question, I really am curious to hear like you guys' experience with navigating like relationships outside of your band, like being a front woman, whether it's navigating friendships or like romantic encounters and dating before you met your partner or when you met your partner. I don't know.
I was gonna say, have you ever listened to that? It's a Leve song. It's called Goddess, but it's basically about that, about, you know, the people that she's been with kind of put her on this pedestal and have this idea of her, this like idea that, you know, she's always like strong and confident and cool and like a cool girl and stuff. And then when she gets off stage, it all comes off, and then you're not interested anymore.
Yeah.
And so like I don't know, I was just thinking about that a lot. If anybody has a chance to listen to it, you should. You might cry, so maybe keep that in mind. I mean, I think when I was younger, when I was starting to write music, I did write music with somebody that I was dating at the time. And I think whenever, you know, like I would try to show my music, I didn't feel like the credit was going towards me ever. And it was always like, oh, like you're this person's girlfriend. Like I never really had a name for myself. I think like being in this band that I'm in now, and being a front woman, having relationships was really difficult. I mean, luckily, like I've always kept my circle very small, and I like to, it's nice that my closest friends have been my bandmates. Like, even if it's been interchangeable, and even if, you know, we've outgrown each other and moved on from each other, like the people in my band were always the people closest to me. I don't have a big family. I'm an only child. And so I kind of always considered my bandmates my family. And like my dad is very supportive of us. He always has been. No matter who's in the band, who's not in the band, he's always, you know, considered my bandmates as his kids. And he's really taken care of us. So the friendship side of it has always been great, but like dating, especially like just dating men, I found that they would get intimidated, and I didn't see it then that I was like being intimidating, or I thought that I was like too much, or like I was, you know, not giving them enough time. And I think a lot of the men that I've dated while being a front woman of a band, they've been very insecure. And especially when you're dating somebody who's also fronting a band, I think my success was kind of stomped on a lot, and I wasn't allowed to celebrate, you know, the wins of my, you know, small career. And not really, not being able to give myself flowers for a long time. I think that was really difficult, or somebody who's like not in a band, you know, can't understand, you know, when you're at a show, you kind of are like clocking in like that kind of side of you that's, you know, very social. And I think sometimes people get insecure, like, oh, you're not spending enough time with me and you're taking too much time for other people. But when I go to shows and I perform, I love to meet everybody that I perform in front of. That's my favorite part, because the people who come to my shows are like the coolest, funniest, awesomest people ever. And so I've always been like, I'm not missing out on that. Like, how could you ask me not? Yeah, I think like dating somebody else who's in another band, fronting a band, was probably one of the most difficult things I've ever had to experience. And all of these like really great things were happening to me, and instead of celebrating, I would be scared. Like, oh shit, I can't say anything or else I'm gonna get in trouble. And it made me think less of myself. And being a front woman is so empowering, and it's so great for your confidence, like as a woman, and you know, like you want to kind of lean into that. And I wasn't able to for a long time, and now I have an amazing partner who supports me and pushes me, and like wants me to put myself out there and wants me to meet people and be loud and be myself and be the best version of myself, and like not somebody who's gonna make me feel small. He wants me to be like the biggest, most confident version of myself. That's really confident, and I think that it takes a very confident person very secure person to be like that.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
I definitely can relate to what you were saying, and even just like navigating of meeting, like if you are as a front woman, if you're gonna date someone, or even I feel like as a creative, as a front woman, as a creative, as an artist, like if you're gonna date someone in music or in art, like you definitely have to be like secure and confident, because you're kind of sharing their love, you know? You're sharing my love. And yeah, I hear you. I don't know if you guys want
To piggyback off of this is like such a like sore subject in general, I feel like, because it's like something that's inevitable and you never want to share with like an audience, you know, but it does bleed into your career, and it bleeds into your music and the way that you present yourself, your confidence, everything. And like, I'd like to say relationships are like not a one fits all, you know, you kind of like test it out. It's not working. Damn. Okay. Next. Damn. That one didn't work either. Like, and I was in a really long-term relationship where like my partner like literally would just be like to everything I did, like music, like never, like really pretended that like my lifestyle, it really was Hannah Montana, Miley Cyrus. Like I like, when I like clocked into music, like that part of my life was separated, didn't exist. And like, I became okay with it, you know, like I was just like, okay, well maybe that's like not for this person. And I get that. So I didn't like take it personal, and I just like let it go, and I kept those two things separate in my life. But like as time went on, I started to realize I'm like, they don't actually appreciate me for me, because how can you say that you like appreciate and care for me, but like you know nothing about what I do. You're not there, you're not supportive, you don't even pretend to be supportive, like you're not there. And that's like I like really took in consideration moving forward, like I can't ever be with anybody who actually doesn't take interest in my craft, because I can't change myself for you. Like that's just not gonna happen. And then like the other polarity of it is like I dated someone who was in music who also was like a front person to it, and it's like I suddenly was this big, like I didn't exist, like my accomplishments weren't as big as theirs, and like I could never be happy for myself, you know. I had to keep that to myself because it didn't matter. It was like always about them, or when we were together, it suddenly was always about them, or my events were suddenly about them, and like I also felt small again. And I was like, I don't understand, because like this person does music and like they understand as well, but they still made me feel really small. And it was like I couldn't find a balance of like, it just made me not want to date anybody, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't even want to do this anymore. But then like, it like found my happy ending. It was a long time coming.
I feel that.
But I like have the most amazing supportive partner.
I'm sorry.
I mean, love is calling. That's what it is.
That's actually my alarm to reassure my girlfriend.
No, literally. It was like, I like, you know, when you least expect finding, like, when you're not looking for love or you're not looking for somebody, is like when it really hits you and you kind of, what do you do with it now? You know, like you just have to learn to accept it. And I have a really amazing, loving boyfriend who has like restored that confidence in me. And also like, even when I don't want to showcase that part of myself and be vulnerable, he's like the one always pushing me like, no, I want to hear your demos and I want to hear this. And like, it's so odd, it's so weird because I'm not used to it. But like, I finally understand what it's like to have a supportive, loving partner. And it makes me more confident in myself knowing that I have a support system who is also confident in me. So I'm not gonna say any names, but if you're out there. Okay, I'm done.
I hope you guys wanted to share.
Yeah. I would say navigating relationships, like with my bandmates, like I love them all so much. Obviously, like if you are on the road together in a little band for days and days and days on end, like you might butt heads a little bit, you might get annoyed with each other, you know, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you're all in it together. We overcome those things. As far as romantic relationships, I would say I've also had like the same experience with like insecurity or things like that, where it's like somebody idealizes you or kind of has this idea of you, and then they're like, oh shit, like this is a real person with like real emotions and like problems. And also I think that like, especially in hardcore, like it's changing a lot now. Like there's a lot more femme people and whatnot, but I would say it definitely is like still a male dominated scene. And I think that that has been kind of intimidating to people that I've dated in the past. You know, just insecurity about being surrounded by men and things like that. And it's like, it's not even like that. It's kind of just like, these are my friends. We just make music together and whatever. But some people just can't handle that, and they don't want to admit it. And I've also been in that experience before where it's like you're with somebody that just doesn't really support you, just like doesn't come to any of your shows, doesn't really care. Like, you know, I remember one time it was when Snuff was, I think, about to record our very first like album. And I was like kind of tweaking about it. You know, I was really nervous. I had a lot of anxiety. I'd never professionally recorded anything before. Like I'm stressed out. And he was just like, don't talk to me about this. Like, it's not a real problem.
Oh my God.
And it's like to have somebody tell you that your problems are not real problems is just very disheartening.
Yeah.
But now I'm also in a significantly better situation. I'm with someone that's really supportive and is not insecure and not, you know, doesn't put me down because of like insecurity, jealousy, and things like that. And just, you know, he's also a musician, so he just is understanding and knows how it goes.
Yeah.
We actually met at a show in Grand Rapids at like a fest. He was there with one of his friends and bands, and like our merch tables were next to each other. So that's how we met, and we're still together to this day. We just moved in together.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. So I'm doing a lot better now. It's like, yeah.
That's so funny because you remind me of that one moment where like when dating someone who's like who knows I'm in a band, but then once they're actually dating me, they're like shocked by how
do things.
Yeah, and like that I'm surrounded by men all the time.
You guys actually hang out?
Yeah.
You have to rehearse?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And I remember there was this like crazy moment where he was like, you have band practice every week? And I was like, yeah. He's like, with your bandmates? And I'm like, who else? It's not just me. I practice at my home independently, sure, but he's like, oh, but they're all guys. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, I don't feel comfortable with that. Like I'd rather come with you to your band practice every single week. And I'm like, you're not doing that. Like, you're not gonna hang out like in the middle of the. That's so weird. And I remember I told my bandmates, and they were just like all dying. They're like, "Who's this guy? Does think he is? Like, who's your boyfriend?" I'm like, "I know, I'm so embarrassed, jeez." But like, yeah, not my boyfriend. Didn't even last a couple months, but yeah, that was one of the indications. Where I was like, "Wait a minute, you don't even understand like who you're like dating and what situation you just got yourself into." But yeah, I don't know.
They get like weird competitive.
Yeah,
Puff their chest out.
Yeah,
Like, just,
It's like, okay, and then my bandmate's like, dude, I've known her way longer than you have. You just got here. Like, what? Like, it was,
I don't like her like that.
oh my gosh. But yeah, I don't know if you want to share yourself about.
Yeah, sure. I think I can definitely relate to a lot that's been said. I'm also just very fortunate to be with a partner that's very supportive and in a way is also like helps produce me and stuff like that. But even in our relationship, it's definitely evolved, right? Like, and this is just like me as a person too. I think evolving and kind of just like not taking shit from people. Sorry, I said a bad word. But like, you know, I remember in my younger years, showing not just my partner, but people in general, like songs that I've written that I've never released or whatever, but just like getting feedback. And I feel like we had to like grow through stuff like that, right? Where it's like maybe they criticized it, but not necessarily like in a bad way or trying to hurt me, but like it still did kind of hurt me, right? So it kind of just had to evolve to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to show you this song, but like you can't say bad stuff. Or if you do, you have to like say it in a really nice way.
In a constructive way.
In a constructive way, yes. But also I think it's just come to a point where I'm like, I need to be secure in myself so that when somebody criticizes my song or whatever, like I can be just like realistic and see if maybe their suggestion or feedback is, you know, real, valid. Or if what I like is just different and I maybe should just stick to what I like. And I think just like relationships in general with like people, it's I feel like it's a two-way street. Like for me, I've also just evolved. I also know that like you have to put in effort into your relationships, and that means like your bandmates as well, right? Like just checking in, making sure that they're good, right? Like not just being super transactional. Like, yes, maybe in the past they were, but maybe so was I. So it's like, how do you develop those relationships? And I know that like emotional intelligence and just like talking and stuff like that, nurturing relationships is a skill. It's definitely something I think that I'm finally at a good place at. But like you said, everyone's been saying, right? Like it's hard when you're so busy and like sometimes not having, you know, that's why I like having friends who are also like not just musicians, but creatives in general, because it's people you can kind of relate to. It's hard when it's like somebody doesn't understand what you're going through in terms of like, oh, you get on a stage and you look so confident, but it's like I still get nervous every time, and people don't always understand that, right? Putting you on that pedestal. But I'm very fortunate now to have friends and just people in my life who do understand that and can kind of see through that. Because at the end of the day, I think we all just want to be seen, not just, right, as like this persona that we build for ourselves, like as these really cool Latina Frontwomen, but just also just ourselves. So, yeah.
That was really well said. Thank you for sharing that. And I really liked what you said about just, you know, remembering to check in with your bandmates and hang out with them. I think it wasn't until, to be honest, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna turn it off. You're good. I don't think it was until like we let go of our last bandmate, our bassist, where I didn't realize like we were at a point where we weren't even like friends anymore. We were just bandmates. And like it was funny because shout out Kill Moves because I just had a conversation with the guitarist of Kill Moves, but he was like, oh yeah, like we had like a Friendsgiving with our band, and I'm like, that's so cute, like, and then it made me feel a little guilty, and I'm like, damn, like I need to hang out with like my band more outside of like band practice because I feel like that's not like an official hangout. Like we're there to work and make music, but like I mean the only person I hang out with all the time is my guitarist Janice, but that's because of convenience and first we're so close and we've been friends for so long, but like really made me reflect on like why our relationship, me and our ex bases, why our relationship kind of like I don't know changed over the years, and I guess like over time it kind of just naturally happens. Like he's a father and has a wife and all this stuff, which is great, and I love that for him. And of course it takes time and he gets busy, but I realized that like damn, like maybe if I would have checked in more, maybe if I would have gone to hang out with him and his family more, like that would have strengthened our bond, like our friendship bond, but also like our bandmate bond, because I feel like since our friendship kind of evolved into like more just a strictly bandmate relationship, it felt more transactional, and I could tell that he maybe like resented it a little bit and was like, oh, I don't want to be here. And you can feel that immediately, like when your bandmate doesn't want to be there because it's work, like we gotta be for real. It's work. We gotta run through the set. We gotta memorize. We gotta do things a certain way and be places at certain times. So I get it, but it's work that I love, and I feel super honored and grateful to be able to do it. But I feel like maybe he didn't feel the same way, which is fine, but kind of I don't know, sometimes I feel a little guilty, like maybe I should have like put more effort into checking in and hanging out with him and all that stuff, but it's just hard, but this actually transitions into the next topic of discussion, which is describe a moment when you had to make a difficult decision in the band that would affect the happiness of others, yourself, and the overall state of your band. How did you overcome this? Was this decision worth it? I don't know if you guys want to kick that one off.
So I think it was last June. We announced that we were gonna like go on hiatus, or we were gonna break up, or whatever it was. And that was honestly really difficult for me, because I saw where it was going. Like we got to play Riot Fest, and like the music was just doing well, like on Spotify and stuff. Like our song Over It was like on an official editorial playlist, and it's like at 2 million streams right now, and it's like like that's weird, but I'm thankful, but yeah, like I mean, as I'm in a band with my ex-husband and my little brother, and that's family, and just like a relationship that didn't work, and it can get complicated, so it's very hard to kind of balance it out, especially like also being a mom. Like I have all these things that are going on, and I work, like on top of it. So it was really difficult to like kind of, admit that I need to step away for my own mental health, which really sucked because we were gonna do a small tour with Secret Attraction, who I'm like huge fan of. I was so excited. I mean, we still went through with it because I made a commitment, and I was gonna stay committed to that. I wasn't gonna just I didn't want to disappoint people. So yeah, we announced that, and I ended up getting like a shit ton of like messages from people like about like not wanting us to like go away and stuff, and it just it made me really emotional, because I didn't realize that I was like I made someone feel something somewhere. I'm I'm the only girl and like I'm the middle child. So so I was like, I guess like always left out or like neglected, forgotten. And it was weird to be seen, you know, by these people that don't even know me. You know, like I have someone messaging me from like New York or Mexico or Germany or whatever the hell, like please don't stop making music. And I'm like, why? Like, and so I guess because I had to take a step away, it made me realize that like no, like you are making a difference, whether or not you stop here or you don't stop here. That people actually really care about what we're doing or what we're saying. Like I've always felt really alone, and to like know that other people really resonate with that feeling. I don't know, it just made me feel really good about what I was doing. And it kind of reassured me like, yeah, you know, like I did something. If it ends now or if it continues, like I did something. But yeah.
I like it's kind of obvious. I have like the worst ADHD, so bad, and I have like stopped taking my meds for that. Not on purpose, because I forgot to fill my prescription, and then I never picked it up, and then my insurance like, hey bestie, okay, someone I was talking about this year now. Okay, anyway, I like my insurance, like they were reaching out like you need to renew this, and then because I wasn't on my medication, like I fell off my insurance, and I'm like, great, like what am I gonna do now, you know? But like all of that has kind of put such a big influence on my music career, because I don't have a manager, I've never had a manager, and like all the emails come through me. And if I am not mentally well to reply to these emails,
Oh my God.
we are gonna miss deadlines. and venues and talent buyers are like,
Yes.
following up for the 15th time, just checking in. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going through it. Like, and it's so easy, you know, just to do these things. But like, when you have ADHD, as small as that seems, it's like paralyzing. The little things become so big, and then I have a huge pile of things, and now I feel like I'm drowning and I don't know where to start. And I was just neglecting everything that I needed to do for my band, because it was my responsibility to communicate with them. And I was just being bad at it. I was being a bad bandmate. I was like being a bad friend, because I wasn't giving them a heads up when they needed to. And I was kind of just like pouring things onto them last minute, like, hey, by the way, forgot to let you know we're gonna be playing this festival on this day, and like we have one rehearsal, and by the way, I don't have the set list, but I'll have it the day of rehearsal. And they're like, are you serious right now? And I was like, their patience for me, I don't know how they did it. They never complained, but I knew it was like running thin. Like I was at the breaking point with them, because they're like huffing and puffing, being pissed off, like passive aggressive, liking my messages, like, and I was like,
Not the thumbs up.
as long as they didn't say nothing, you know, like whatever. But it like, at one point I was just like doing so bad, like mentally. Like I swear, like I just couldn't organize rehearsals, and I couldn't figure out a time for all these things, and like songs weren't written that needed to be, and I wasn't making deadlines, and they started to pick up the weight for me. And like that was like Jade was like, don't worry, I got a set list for us. Jeremy's like, I figured out an arrangement, you don't have to worry. Junie's like, I reached out to this person for us, we're all good. And then like I had to sit and realize, like, I am a bad bandmate and a bad friend, because I'm neglecting my mental health, which is then bleeding into everyone else's lives. And that was like, no one wants to ever admit they're the problem. Like, choke me. But like, I had to sit and be like, dude, I'm the problem. Like, I'm the reason why this is like falling apart, and I don't want them to resent me, and I don't want them to not want to be my friend or not want to participate in this. And I had to like sit down and realize that like I need to get everything together so that we can be successful. And that was like really, really hard for me. I'm like, oh, and especially like admitting you're wrong to guys. I'm the only girl. I'm like, stop it. But I just like told them like I need to be better. I need to be better about this, and that was really hard for me. But they were receptive and understanding, and I'm so grateful for them. Like, you guys don't understand. Like, when I mean they hold it together, they really do. But that was difficult for me. That was like something to this day. Like, and I did actually take a really big break from shows because I'm like, I'm mentally unwell. Like, I don't want to keep doing this to you guys because then it makes me even more stressed. I'm stressed about the show. I'm stressed about this, and now I'm stressed you guys are mad at me. But I took like an appropriate break, which everyone was like so confused. Like, when's your next show? When's your next show? I'm like, bro, I don't even care. Like, I don't even care. I need to like figure this out right now. But that like making that hard, difficult decision to like acknowledge that I am affecting other people in not a good way. It was difficult for me, but we got through that, and I feel like I needed to take that break, and I feel so much better now. It's still not on my Adderall, but don't worry. Don't worry. I got an appointment. Like, I'm working on it. But yeah, that's it.
That's so real.
Breaks are super important.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
No, I feel the same way with the overwhelm and like even just responding to emails sometimes it's very difficult, especially I don't have official ADHD, but I've talked about it with my therapist and she's recommending me to somebody, and it's just very overwhelming sometimes. And it's not just the music stuff, right? Like, I don't know about y'all, but for example, me, like, I have a day job now. I tried doing the full-time artist thing for over a year, and it was really difficult, and I was like burning out. I still am in a different way, but it was just in a way where I was like, this isn't healthy. Like, I'm gigging a lot, even just like for money, and it's like, it's not good for like my vocals. It's just like, you have to put on this like persona again, right? Like this happy, smiling energy all the time at these gigs, and it's like, sometimes I just don't even feel there. And it's like, it's just felt so fake. So I was like, you know what, let me just, fortunately got this regular day job now, and in a way it's kind of helping, right, on the financial side, but at the same time it's like everything is still so overwhelming sometimes. And again, I know that's like not even just for musicians or artists, it's just like for people in general, because capitalism sucks, right? And it's such a thing, and I think it's good to like at least acknowledge, right, when sometimes we're the problem, because I've definitely acknowledged that myself with like my band. Like, sometimes going into a rehearsal and like being super low energy because I'm struggling with something in my personal life. And I've also gotten to a point where I'm just like honest with them, where I'm like, you know what, hey y'all, like, thank you guys for being here. I know that like we all have things going on in our personal lives, whether it's like work or you guys have kids, whatever, right? Like, I know that right now in this moment at this rehearsal, like, we get to just play music, and that's so fun. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like, I'm just doing something that like my childhood self would have wanted to do, right? Like, just play music, sing, play guitar, and it's a blessing. Again, like, I keep reminding myself of that every day. Like, I get to do this. I get to sing and just dance and like play guitar. Like, I don't want to say like who else gets to do this, but like we get to do this, and it's just, again, such a blessing, even through all the hurdles, and acknowledging those hurdles, but also giving ourselves grace for that, right? Because we have to. But I forgot what the question was. I just wanted to
You're good. It was just describe a moment when you had to make a difficult decision in your band that would affect the happiness of yourself, others, the overall state of the band. How did you overcome this? Was the decision worth it?
I have a very specific time. It's like, it's not anything crazy, but it's the moment that pops into my head when I think of it. I remember Snubbed, I think it was, all of my timelines like run together now. I think it was last year, maybe the year before that. We got offered to play this show at Empty Bottle very last minute, and all my bandmates like really wanted to do it. But I already had plans. I was like going to the movies. I wanted to go to the movies. I was a bit overwhelmed in my personal life also. Like, I was working like 50 hours a week, and I was about to like go be like in this destination wedding. So I was like preparing for that. And I just had like a lot of other stuff going on outside of like the band. and my partner and I were not cohabitating at the time, so like we still had to like find time to like hang out and like do things together. And so we were gonna go to the movies. And so I remember getting the message and one of my bandmates being like, oh come on, like all you have to do is like stop through for like a few minutes and play this set. And I was like, I'm sorry, like I cannot do this today. Like I just can't do it. And like I felt bad, and I know that they were like bummed out, but I honestly don't regret the decision, because in that moment my brain was telling me like you need to just relax.
Yeah.
And like you have all these other outside stressors affecting you, like you don't need to go like add this other stressor. Not saying that shows are always stressors, but it's like, because they're fun, but at the same time it's like you get nervous, you get a little anxiety like naturally before performing, at least I do. And I just didn't want to add like an extra thing onto my plate that I was able to say no to, you know what I mean? And it's like, it sucks because I know they were bummed out, and I feel like I've said no to a lot of things because of my mental health. But I think like this year, especially, like my goal is to say yes to more things. Like I'm trying to like really back out as much as possible. So, but it's just important to know like that line of like burnout, you know, because then you're not any good to anyone, and especially yourself.
Yeah. It
It's
takes
so
a
funny.
lot of energy out of you.
Yeah.
I think it takes like I think out of everything that I do outside of the band, like the band is the one that takes the most out of me. But that's okay, because in a weird way, I like that, because it's a huge part of me. It's how I express myself, my creativity, and what I always want to like push out in a understandable way. I can't be telling someone my whole life story at work, you know, like I do it with my band. But yeah, it takes a lot out of you.
I feel like when you first start, like being in a band, your goal is to like play as much as humanly possible. And so it's like you do say yes all the time, every time. And then you get to a point where you're like, I can say no sometimes and go to the movies.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome. But sometimes like you do have to just grind for a while and for like a couple of years and just play as much as possible and get your name out there. But I feel you on like learning how to say no. I mean, as far as like the question, I think like when you do this for long enough, like you're gonna run into really big like issues, and you have to make some big decisions. And you know, like we've said, like lineups come and go, and it's really difficult when your lineup is changing when it was somebody that started a project with you, and kind of like somebody that you owe all of this to. And I think just like sticking, because sometimes you just have to make that decision for yourself, for your community, for your band. Like, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do my entire life, but I have to stick to my morals. And you would be surprised how hard it is to stick to your morals, like other people. Like you like to assume that people will follow their morals and stick to them, but you know, sometimes things don't always go as planned, or sometimes intention changes. But I think like taking care of yourself and the well-being of your community and band seems like an easy decision, and like it is, but the work that you have to put in to make it possible sometimes is really difficult, because you have to sacrifice a part of yourself. But I think what I've learned is I would rather be uncomfortable for a short amount of time, you know, in the grand scheme of things. I'd rather be uncomfortable for that small amount of time than to not stick to my morals long term and have that affect me and people around me.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, it's important to have values too, especially if you're in the spotlight.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people forget though that even though you're on stage, you're just a person.
Yeah.
And that issues are not black and white.
Yes.
Like, everything is gray, and the people you know are multifaceted, and they often falter because they're imperfect and they're human. So I guess to say to you, like I don't know what it is you're referring to, but I respect you for sticking to your morals, but also like whatever it was, like you're only human. Your band is only human, and don't let the audience tell you what you should and shouldn't do. Like you determine where your art goes or what it means. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. That was really cool. Thank you for sharing. We have one last question for the middle, and then we're gonna take a quick intermission. We're gonna talk about what are our favorite memories and milestones and accomplishments that we've experienced with our band. Did you ever think that would happen? What do you think younger you would have been reacting, experiencing those favorite memories of yours, and what would she tell you? Yeah, what are your favorite memories or milestones and accomplishments you experienced with your band? Just memories.
Me and my bandmates did like some like cannabis event. And like I have like a vocal condition, like I can't smoke, I'll lose my voice. It's like ridiculous. So like I had to wait the entire event to be able to participate in this cannabis event. And it's like, you're just in like a hot box room. Like they're like, you know, you're at a table and they're like, what would you like to try? And look at all these cool tools and stuff. And we had to do like a recorded video interview.
Oh man.
And we had a performance as well. And I like told my bandmates, I'm like, none of you are smoking until we finish this performance. And like, they're like, okay, no one listens to me. Like by the time we performed, like my drummer is just like baked. I'm like, dude, like, and then we have this like video performance where we sit down and they're asking us questions and like everyone is just like, we're actually like participating in smoking at this time for the video. And like, they're asking us questions and my guitarist is, while being recorded, is like, wait, I'm sorry, what's the question? Like, what's going on? like the drummer's like, I'm not going in there. Like, I'm like, dude, like, everybody, I told you not to smoke. Like, why'd you guys do that? Like, and everyone just like didn't want to participate in it. But I think it was like one of the funniest events because afterwards we had smoked on camera. We were like, how can we get out of here fast? Like, because there's like a bunch of other musicians and people are coming up to us trying to talk to us. And I'm like, I can't comprehend anything people are saying to me. And I don't want to embarrass myself right now. Like, we need an escape plan immediately. And like, we just like performed, recorded that video. And we're like, all right, everybody. And everyone's like, dude, I'm so fried. But I think it was like, has to be one of my favorite memories with them because I've never seen them vulnerable where they're like, I don't want to be seen right now. Like, I've never seen them vocalize that to me. And every single person in that room was like, I'm not well. Like, I need to leave. But yeah, it was embarrassing, but really, really funny. And it was such a intimate bonding between us where I understood that we were all embarrassed.
I love that you said that because it just reminded me of this one moment where we weren't even playing the show. I think your band Scarlet's More played. It was like a backyard show at Janice's house.
Oh, I love
and it was just like it was a DIY backyard show, and it was at my bandmate Janice's house, and I was bartending, and really cheap drinks. They were like $10. I think they were like palomas that I was making. Heavy pouring and all that. And Janice, my bandmate, since his house, he was trying to turn up, and our drummer Christian, shout out Christian, best drummer in the world, I love him. And they were both there, and they both were drinking heavily, and they were just like, we should play a song. I'm like, no, you guys are wasted. And they're like, no, come on, play it. I was like, I don't know. And then Jax, shout out Jax, he's filming here. And at the time, Jax was subbing for us for bass, and she just happened to be, so all four of us just happened to be there. So we were just like, should we play a song? And we were like, okay, fuck it. We played Chicano Stump, and it was so fun. I was so wasted. We were all super wasted.
That was such a
yeah,
fun
but it was,
show. I'll never forget that.
and it's just like I don't know. Like I was thinking about like one of my favorite shows, and I was like, yeah, I can refer to Millennium Park or WGN, but like honestly, some of my favorite shows are like the DIY ones, like in a backyard, wasted, a bunch of friends and good people around, and like it was it was the best. I think that was probably one of like my favorite. I watch videos from it all the time because it was one of my favorite moments with my bandmates. Because even though we weren't entirely sober, but it was like, I don't know, we were at our most vulnerable in a way, and not really caring or thinking about how we acted or played. We just
no pressure.
yeah, there was no pressure. We just played of, I don't know, we just the sole thought in our head was to just rock out, and we did, and it was so fun.
That was one of my favorite shows.
Yeah,
That was
so
one of my
fun.
favorite shows. It was so fun. There was so many kids packed in that
Oh
backyard,
my god, yes.
and it was hilarious. And we all were drinking quite a bit. And I think I jumped on Alex's back at some point when we were playing, and he was like, he dropped me, and I was like, how could you drop me? Like, am I that heavy? Because like I wasn't expecting you to jump on my back like in just mid song. But I agree though. Some of my favorite shows ever are DIY shows. I'll never forget. Like we had been like playing for a long time, and we hadn't played a DIY show in a while. I think we did like Albion House or something, and it was packed, and it was really good for morale at that point. And it just those little reminders of like why you do this. I'll always love DIY for the rest of my life. I think like my favorite, like one of the big moments for me was actually the first time we got to play Talia Hall, and you guys were there.
I was gonna bring that
And
one up as
you
well.
guys were there.
so good.
Well, because Talia is just a beautiful venue, and like I walked in and everybody's setting up, and I go, oh my god, it's so beautiful, and everybody was looking at me like, yeah, we work here, we look at this every day. I'm like, no, but it's so beautiful. And I think it was either like sold out or close to sold out. It was packed. It was like you guys and like CDOs, and it was we were an invited like EP release show. It was the first time I ever like crowd surfed, and we were playing on My Chemical Romance cover. You were there. And you might grabbed it. It was awesome. But a really big part of why that was so cool, I wanted to tell you. I told you this, I think, when we were at Talia, but Snuffed was one of the first female-fronted bands in the scene that I had seen where I was like, I want to scream like that. And so I looked up to Carly for years and years and years and years. And I had always like, I'd go to shows like when I was in high school and like catch you when I could. And I think just like being able to play a show with somebody that I looked up to so much growing up, and that like really inspired me to like, get into heavier stuff and like try to, do the screaming thing. And that was just a huge point for me. I was like, I get to play with my heroes, and it's so cool. I also didn't realize how short you were. For some reason, because I've been seeing you on stage, and so I go up to Carly, and I'm like, you're my inspiration. I looked up to you for so long. But that was just a really sweet moment for me. And like that show will always like that show and DIY shows will always like trump everything. Like every, obviously like it's an honor to play like festivals and stuff, and that stuff's crazy. But I think just like being really close, like having those reminders where you're really close to your community and your friends and the people that brought you up, and then you have the opportunity to bring your friends up and your photographers up that you've known for years and bands that you believe in. Like I think that's just, those will always be so much cooler than any festival or anything, in my opinion.
To piggyback off of that, that same show, Talia, also lives rent-free in my head. I think about it all the time. I was so scared, to be honest with you. I just felt so intimidated, like being on this like huge stage. I've never been on a stage that big before, and like it was packed in there, and I think it ended up being sold out. So that's like a 900 cap venue.
Yes, ma'am.
So to be on that stage with all those people, and then, like the lineup was like a lot of our friends, like we weren't invited. Obviously, I love Scarlett D'Amour. So it's really like an honor to hear that, you've drawn inspiration from me. It's really flattering. So thank you. That show in particular, I constantly think about because I've just never played a show like that
Yeah.
before or after that at this
Yeah.
point.
It's crazy.
And then the other one that I think about a lot is Snuff's very first album release. It was at Bricktown, which is like one of my favorite DIY spots in the whole city. It probably never sweated more ever in my entire life. It was like 1,000 degrees in there.
Summer?
It was in the summer. They don't have summer shows anymore because they don't have
it gets
AC.
nasty.
But it was insanely hot. But it was a lot of fun. There's a lot of energy. It was packed. Like people were going crazy. And it just kind of really put it into perspective for me for like the first time, like, oh, people like really fuck with this. Like people are really like about it. And it was really awesome because, you know, we picked all the other bands to like play our show. World I Hate from Milwaukee, and I just like love them. CDOs played. And then I think our friends from St. Louis Squint, they had just started, so they came and opened the show. But it was awesome, and I think about it all the time fondly. I reminisce on it. So those are just a couple times that I treasured memories.
Oh yeah. I love Bricktown. Bricktown's so cool.
Bricktown is awesome.
I love Bricktown.
My favorite memory, I remember being at Riot Fest and we got to like ride around on like golf carts like backstage and stuff. And I was just like, this is so cool. Like I feel like really important right now. And like we were just like in the backstage like VIP. We were backstage for Death Grips. Like it just felt like a real surreal moment. Like wow, we're here. But besides that, like a real, I guess, like authentic moment. We were in California and we were gonna head back to Chicago already. But whenever we go to California, we always get mimosas in the morning. It's like a tradition now. So we got mimosas. Everybody was like, you know, we're all lit. We're gonna go to like the Santa Monica Pier or something. I think that's what it's called. Yeah, where the Ferris wheel is. We go over there for a little while. We're having fun, blah, blah, blah. We get to the car. I'm dizzy. And my little brother vomits in the back seat. And and it was a rental. But my little brother is such a shy, introverted person. Like it takes a lot for him to come out of his comfort zone. So just to see him like that, like just a mess and laughing and stuff. I thought it was beautiful. And yeah, it's one of my favorite memories.
I have a few. For me, it's definitely, I think, the bigger stages. I don't do a lot of DIY because that's not really like my music style. But I know like the Selena tribute, which I know you guys did too, through the museum as well, was a highlight for me. I think it was because the stage was also so big. It was like one of those moments where it just like clicks. It was super, yeah. It's like, oh my God, you can dance all around. And it's like, it's super intimidating, but at the same time, I think it was like my first experience on such a big stage where I just felt like, oh, this is like what the big people feel like, right? Like you can dance around and move around, and it almost feels like, I don't know. I just really like that experience. Also because Chris Perez was there and someone was like, oh, he peaked when you were performing. And I'm like, oh my God, that's like the closest I'll ever get to like actual Selena, who's in heaven, rest in peace. But like aside from that, I had a wonderful moment last year where I performed at the Garfield Park Conservatory, and it was a beautiful event, also just like sold out. I got to play a bunch of like unreleased original music that's gonna be on my upcoming album. But I just remember there was like this lady on a wheelchair, and a lot of people were like dancing, right? Because I was literally just like going to the audience and getting them to dance with me and stuff. And I'm just happy that they did.
I love that you do.
But like this lady, she was in a wheelchair and she wanted to dance. I originally went to like, I think her daughter or somebody like younger than her who was next to her to try to get her to dance, but she didn't want to because she was kind of like shy. And I was like, okay, that's fine. but then she was like, oh, like kind of wanting to dance. And I was like, oh, okay. So I kind of felt like Jesus in that moment. Where I was like, oh my God, I'm getting this lady to dance with me. And those are the moments you live for, right? Like where you're just like connecting with the audience like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that so much. Cool. I think we're at a healthy stopping point to take a little break. If you guys are okay with that. We just have one last segment after this, and then we're gonna open up the floor to audience questions. Thank you so much for hanging out and chilling with us. But yeah, we're gonna take about 10-minute break and come back. But the last segment we're gonna get into is the future. Let's manifest it. Is there anything else that you guys want to do, or anything you're really looking forward to? Yeah, like, is there anything else that you guys want to do with this project? I know that we've all have our own milestones and successes that we've accomplished, rightfully so. And yeah, I was just curious to hear, like, is there anything else y'all want to do with like your project?
I want to play Riot Fest.
I want to play Lollapalooza.
I think, I mean, a big reason that I like started this, I mean, other than for my own kind of cathartic release, obviously, is like I was always very inspired by my dad because he's such a great traveler. And I kind of thought like, oh, if I can tour, I can see as much as possible, you know? And so I think like, I just want to tour as much as I can. We have a couple tours coming up in the summer and in the spring. And I just want to see different places, new places. I want to like keep meeting creative, awesome artists. And, you know, just like, I think the whole part of, you know, this life for me is just like human connection and just meeting as many people and seeing as many places as possible, and learning from those experiences. So like I just want to tour more, manifesting Riot Fest. I want to keep, you know, I want to approach writing in a different way. I want to trust myself more, and I have a little bit of a newer lineup now. I have like a new guitarist, and the way that we're writing and, you know, moving forward as a band is really cool. And while it's very terrifying, it's really exciting because I get to write with 5 incredible, talented musicians, and I just want to be more vulnerable with them. And just, I want to give myself time to create something like a record that I really love, and I don't want to put the pressure on myself to, you know, put something out just to put something out to keep it going on the algorithm or to keep my numbers up or anything. Like I want to make a project that's fully like collaborative with the people that are in my band.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I feel very similarly, like everything you said. It's like the human connection is so big for me. So it's like with my music, I honestly just want to find people who like resonate with it. Like I'm recording an album and it's almost ready, and it's like the first time I'm like really, really happy with the project. Like I've released singles and stuff in the past, and I don't know, I'm just at a point where I'm like not cringing at myself anymore. And so it's really nice. And even just like for me, my lyrics, my message is something just like very personal but important to me. And I just want to find people who think the same way, and I don't know, just connect with other people. Also through like touring and stuff like that, and like visiting new places. But I don't know, sometimes it's like people ask like, okay, well, what's the end goal, right? Like what's the biggest festival, or what do you see yourself doing? And it's like, yes, rich and famous, like everybody wants that. But at the end of the day, like even if that's not the goal, if I die tomorrow, like I just want to be content with what I've been putting out now. And it's like I'm super like getting to that place, especially with this new album, and I'm just really excited to like release it because it just feels like me right now.
Yes.
So I just want to continue connecting with other incredible people who also just want to like spread love and kindness and like uplift each other. And honestly, like in a way, sometimes I feel like I'm doing it for my younger self, like just because I don't want anybody else to go through what I went through, right? Like from like people putting each other down, like even my first grade teacher, like what we were saying, like I want the complete opposite of that. And I hope to inspire that through my music. Yeah.
Okay. Going forward, I just want to be happy. I think a lot of like the songs that we have put out in the past are like very melancholy. They're themes of like isolation and depression and heartbreak, and I think it does resonate with people because it's a very real like and human feeling. But yeah. Going forward, I just kind of want to make music that makes me happy. I want to make music without like you were saying, without like the pressure of trying to like satisfy the audience. Like I'm not gonna make, like our most popular song is Over It. I don't want to make Over It Part 2. I want to get away from that. Like I've been making more kind of indie music. I feel like that's been speaking to me a lot more lately. It's a lot more positive, a little more uplifting, and that's how I want to feel. So that's what I want to put out. But yeah.
This is like an ongoing thing that I've struggled with my entire life, and I've yet to overcome it. And every year I say like I'm gonna do it, and I've yet to do it. And I say yet because like who knows, like it's the beginning of the year, and I have the entire year to work through these things. But I love to yap, right? I like to talk. But when it comes to my feelings, I can't get it out. Like I can't get it out. Like when I'm on stage and I am like the Mariah that you see is not the Mariah who I am. And it's hard trying to put those two together. And I still like feel the lack of, even when I'm like my most confident self on stage, like the words of how I feel and what I'd like to say and express and the stories that I've liked to tell have yet to come out. They're like very deep down, and like I'd like to get that out, but I just don't know how. And I think like I don't resonate with like any of my music. I cringe when I hear myself. Like I don't ever stop to listen to it. Like I don't like it. And like I get closer to that version like of what I imagine for myself, but I've yet to be there. And I think like what I'd like is to have a little bit more confidence in like the words that I say and the music that I actually like. Because if you like go on my Spotify, it's kind of just like a big massive genre, because none of it's really me. It's like I'm dabbling into things and I'm like, does this work? Do I like this? Am I confident in this? Do other people like this? And like I don't want to worry about like what other people are listening to, what other people like, because it's like driven me so far from myself that I don't even know who I am. And like, which is why I've taken such a big break off music, because like I don't like what I'm listening to, and I don't like what is out there. Like, and I have all of these songs that I've wrote, and I used to write poetry all the time, like throughout college and when I was like a child, and like no one knows that version of me. No one knows. Like I have like this really big tender heart. I'm so sensitive. And like I make a bunch of jokes and I'm hee hee ha ha up here, but like I've cried like 20 times this year. I actually started beginning of the year. I started writing down every time I cried and the reason why. None of them are like actual valid reasons. Like I cried because I saw like cats outside in the cold and I was like, oh my God, I'm home. Yeah, but I started like a whole note so at the end of the year I can like do a pie chart. I'm really interested. But I cried because I'm really sensitive, and like, but no one sees that part of me. And I want to show that. I don't know how yet, and I'm working on it, but that's like something that I'd like to see for myself is like, when you see that I'm like my most authentic self and you're like, whoa, this is so different, like just know that's intentional. Like this isn't, I'm not derailing, I'm not crashing out. Like I'm really truly trying to find a way to communicate like my heart to people, and it's just so difficult. Like I hate being vulnerable in front of people. But yeah, that's like something I want to, for the future, I'd love to be more raw and vulnerable. It even hurts saying it now. I'm like, oh, I gotta tell you how I feel. Like I can feel it. But yeah. Anyway.
Where do I want to go moving forward? So I would say right now I want to just like continue to write music, like snuffed. Like I think our objective at this time is to, I don't know what we're gonna put out. We're just like in the process of writing. And then I think our plan is to tour again later this year. I think we're gonna try to hit like all the way down the West Coast in like the late spring, early fall, or late summer, early fall. I don't know, whatever. Later on in the year, once we have like new stuff to kind of like tour off of. I also just kind of want to take like a different approach in writing. I feel like a lot of the stuff like lyrically that I've written does come from a place of just like my feelings, like emotions, like depression, things like that. But it's like now I'm starting to dig into other parts of myself a little bit. Kind of like more of like a rage. I'm like, I'm kind of upset about the state of the world, as most people might be. And I'm kind of using that or music as like a way to express that, whether it be just like how I feel about something, whether it's political. I'm just kind of trying to broaden my horizons when it comes to like my writing process a little bit. I just want to be able to grab at different parts of myself instead of just like this one place where it's like, oh, well, I have no more ideas, because it's just you get writer's block and it happens a lot. And I feel like sometimes my writing process, it'll just like come like a bolt of lightning. Like I have this idea and I have to write it down in my notes app real quick so I don't forget it. But I am hoping to open for more bands that I really like. I got to open for some of my favorites like within the last year. So I'm hoping more of those opportunities come along. As far as like festivals and whatnot, I haven't like found a festival that I'm like, yeah, I need to be on that. There's a lot of hardcore festivals. They're usually all out of state. So if we got invited to do something like that, that would be cool. I would want to do something that way. And then I'm hoping for my new band to be able to just like start to, maybe do a few things, like do some weekends out of town and things like that. It's kind of hard, like everybody just has lives and jobs and, wives or partners or whatever. So I'm just hoping we can just make it work out and we can just tour a little more and see some new places, meet some new people.
Hell yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing. I think for La Rosa Noir, I am looking forward to touring. I love playing out of state, out of the city, and releasing new music. A lot of the music that we have out doesn't. I resonate with what you said, Mariah, about how like it doesn't feel like me, because it doesn't feel like me anymore. Because I wrote it when I was like a teenager. And it took so long to release it. And I feel like everything that we're about to put out this year is who I am now. And like, even then some of it's like, it's me 2 years ago. But it's like, I don't know, it kind of feels hard to catch up with releasing the most accurate representation of myself. And the only way to get that is kind of at our shows. Because you're seeing a modern take of our music. And I don't know, so what I'm most excited for is just releasing our new music and going on tour and hopefully playing Lala or Riot Fest or a bigger festival. We haven't played a big fest just yet like that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
You mentioned manifesting, so I just want to put it out there. I'm like, I don't know if I mentioned this, but like I definitely want to do more collaborations, and especially with like people that I not idolize, right? Everyone's human, but like people that I look up to, and those would be like artists like Mon Laferte, even Bad Bunny. I'm just gonna say it. I'm like, the music is like different and maybe more similar to his like latest album. So I really want to like at least meet these people and just like, I don't know, hear more from them and just, I don't know, do more collaborations. I'm manifesting it, okay? Yes. Please put that good energy out there for me and for all of us, because again, I also just want to say thank you to all of you, because as Latinas, like it's not a lot of us out there doing this stuff. Like even just like in the city, right? Like yes, we're all right here, and it might seem normal, but it's like for me, it's been hard just to like find other people doing the same thing. I definitely see a lot of men, male fronted bands, but like, and I guess even just like specifically in my genre, I don't know, it's just hard to find people doing what I'm doing. And it's like, damn, like, you know what? I might be the only one, but that's okay. Like, you know what? Let me create my own lane, whatever. Like, it's totally fine. And I'm just going to manifest again, meeting these people that I really like. So,
Yeah.
I think it's a big deal in Latino culture too, because like from the time you're born, you're kind of taught like, you're supposed to wash the dishes. And,
yeah, exactly.
and you need to go make a plate for your husband at the cookout and stuff. And it's like, yeah, it's like you're kind of like pioneering, you know, something brand new. Because like I think of my idols, right? Like Patti Smith or Kim Gordon or Stevie Nicks, whatever, right? And you know they're American. Like I can't think of anyone like that looks like me. I guess
It's hard.
yeah. So I mean, I think it's cool that we're paving something that's never been done before. I mean, that's definitely cool. But yeah, I guess like you know, I love that we're not afraid to speak right now, to be front and center. Yeah, like you know, like break up. Can I swear?
Yeah, I think we can swear.
Okay, yeah. You know, like you know, break a fucking window and like break the fucking dishes. Don't you know, like divorce your husband. You know, like like just do what you want to do. Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Divorce your husband.
I love that so much. And even like I was gonna say to myself, piggybacking on what you said, I think actually both you and Kat were probably like the first like local female fronted bands and music projects that I saw that were like really grinding it and like going hard. And like I remember seeing you, Rosalba. I saw you more so online, and then I remember seeing Kat at one of this like at the show called Dark Knight, and it was like at a loft, and I like will never forget just seeing you guys and perform. I'm just like, man, like there are more people that are like out there like similar to me, and like, but wait, they're local. I can actually like hang out and talk to them. Like what? Like that's crazy. And then getting to know y'all over time, like it's just been such a pleasure. And then seeing you guys like do your thing, and such a big fan of your music, and have been to your shows and seen you guys. I'm super big fan. But yeah, just thank you so much again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
But yeah, we got about a question or two more. So I guess it's kind of like piggybacks onto our previous question, which is if you could play any festival, or you could build your own dream lineup, open up for whoever you want to open up for, play with whoever you want to play with, who would it be?
I know I already mentioned people. I was like, oh, Mon Laferte, Bad Bunny. I would also say like Natalia Lafourcade, Becky G, Carol G, all these amazing people. Shakira even. I'm just like trying to think of people who have like similar styles as me, but it's just like really hard because it's like I'm all over the place myself, and I know like as artists sometimes we don't like to put ourselves in a box, but these are the people that I guess I don't know I can relate to in some kind of way. And this is just I know. Did you say like they could be alive or not?
Yeah, they're alive.
Even Selena I would put on there.
Oh man. Yeah. I think I've always wanted to open up for either Mon Laferte as well, or Caliuchis and Cuco. I think those are like my top three that I would really like to open up for. I think we could, since we're pretty diverse like music wise, I feel like we could always like tailor the set to that. But that'd probably be like my dream lineup. I don't know.
I would love to play with Mannequin Pussy one day. I think their new record like is really inspiring me to kind of like go in a different direction like in my songwriting. And they're also somebody that I admire a lot because they've been in the game for so long, and I mean they didn't pop off until they were like well into like 10 years of doing their band, you know. and I really admire that. So like them, I would love to play with like the Distillers. They were huge for me growing up. I mean, even like Amel and the Sniffers. There's this band, I don't know where exactly they're from. They're called Upchuck, but they're one of my like favorite bands, and they're awesome. I would love to like have them come to Chicago one day. I think like I don't know if this would like work, but I'm a huge Amy fan. I love Amy Winehouse.
Yes.
I don't even know if I would want to like open for her, but I would just want to like pick her brain and like have tea with her. I have like a tea list of like dead or alive people I really want to have tea with, and she's definitely one of them.
I love Amy.
I love her.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Chaperone. I'm like, my music's not like that, but I love Chaperone. I wanna.
Just want to have some coffee.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
For you guys, want to share?
I have to think about this for a second. There's like so many bands that I like, and there's so many bands that even just like the last year that I'm like, holy shit, I got to open for this band or like play a show with this band. I would say a big one is this band, the Blood Brothers. They were like a band that I loved when I was like in middle school, and I like loved them up in like into my adult life. They actually just did a reunion tour. I don't think they're touring anymore. I think that's like they just did the reunion, whatever. But if I ever had the opportunity to like play a show with them, they would be at the top of that list, I think. And then Power Trip made a comeback. I know their original vocalist has passed away, but the rest of them have reunited. And I think they're also touring again. I'm not sure if that opportunity will ever pop up. I don't think it's like completely out of the realm of possibility. But I actually played a show with, they have like some of the members have like another band, Fugitive. And we played with them, I think back in October, which was like a big deal. It was like a huge deal to me. So that was really awesome. And then I don't think Gulch is a band anymore, but they've been like a big inspiration. So I would put them on that list too.
Rest in peace, Gulch.
Yeah,
they're not dead. They're just not.
They're just not a band anymore. Yeah.
I would probably want to be on a lineup or open for New Order, definitely Interpol. They're a big influence like on our bass lines and stuff. And the drums.
I love the drums.
Yeah, the drums. Oh my god. I got to see them in concert. I think maybe this was last year. They played at the Metro, and I cried during one of their songs called Book of Revelations. The lead singer, his name is Johnny. He is so influential to me because he was, I think before he played the song, he was talking about, I mean, his background is basically like he grew up in like a severely like religious household. And he's like an openly queer man. So to see him up there and like his songs expressing himself so like openly and unafraid, just like so bold despite like a lack of support system, and to have all that entire audience just like cheering him on and in his vulnerability was so beautiful. And I really admire that. So opening for them would be incredible.
That's a good one.
I like so many different people. I like music, period. I had like a couple things. If I like had to make a lineup of people that I like really, really like listening to, it'd be like Jamila Woods, Cleo Soul, Omar Apollo. You guys know I'm obsessed. And then if I had to like sit down with somebody to talk, Chris Martin from Coldplay. I love Coldplay. I got a Coldplay tattoo. I'm a Coldplay stan. They're my favorite band ever. Like, I don't know. I love Coldplay. Like, and then I see all these features that they have, like Selena Gomez. Like, come on, bro. You could put me on.
Manifest it. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's everybody for right now.
Hell yeah. Okay, moving on to probably one of our last minute questions. What advice do you have for inspiring frontwomen, someone that wants to be the lead singer of a band? What's something do you wish someone had told you?
Keep going. Like, you know, don't give up, because I feel like it's, especially in the beginning, it's really easy to become discouraged, especially when you're like, I hate the way I sound, I can't stand this, like, how do I sound better? And then it's like, you just kind of find your sound, I think, over time.
Yes.
That's how it happened for me anyway. When I listen to like newer music that I've put out versus older music, it's like, it's different.
Yeah.
Because the sound has just evolved. And I also think it's important for people to remember just like to, you know, be persistent in what you want, and also that like you're never gonna sound exactly like somebody else.
That.
I think that's like a huge thing, because I feel like somebody, like for me, it's like I would hear something in my head, it's like, oh, I want to sound like that. But it's like, I'm never gonna sound like that because my voice box is a different voice.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's just important to remember that you have to find your own individual sound, and it's never going to be the same as someone else's, which is also what like makes it so great.
That's huge, like not comparing yourself to other people, and kind of make your own lane and stay in your own lane.
Which is so hard at first too.
It is very hard. I think like I always tell people this, it's okay to suck really bad. I was really, really bad. I was a horrible singer. I was a horrible performer. I wrote terrible songs, but like I just kept doing it, and I quite literally just didn't give up. I mean, I tried to give up so many times, and I had really, you know, great people in my life to encourage me and to keep me going. Literally just don't give up. Like you can do anything you want if you just don't give up, and like you give yourself enough time and you trust the process. I always tell girls like, do not be scared of like looking silly. And also like I need to take my own advice. I need to take my own damn advice. I understand that. But like seriously, like don't be afraid of looking a certain way and like comparing yourself to like other women, or like trying to look a certain way. Like, you know, stay off the internet, stay off of like looking at pictures of yourself. Like there's gonna be a million photographers. They're all gonna be taking pictures of you. Don't look at them. You don't have to. You really don't have to. Just like find out what you like. Like pick your favorite records and pick a little thing from your favorite songs and be like, how can I emulate that in my craft? One of my favorite things to do is like, especially when I first started writing music, like I would listen to like my favorite song and be like, what would I have done differently? You know, and like when you kind of practice that thought, then you kind of figure out how to write music, because you kind of are using the music that you already love as a map. And it's not like, you know, writing the same song, but just taking little bits and pieces. And even if you do write the same song, but it's a little bit different, it's really, really good practice. Or like if you get into a rut, just like pick, I used to do this too. I'm like, I really need to start doing this again, because this is a really good idea. I would just pick a random record. Even if it just like looks cool, like at a record store, just pick a random record. It doesn't have to be like any genre you've ever listened to. Just put it on, and just like getting like, it's really easy to listen to the same things and your favorite songs and your same playlist, but like going out of your comfort zone is really huge. And just like not overthinking it, like things, it's never that serious. That's another big thing. Like it's really never that serious. Like you're doing this for fun. You're doing it for your own cathartic release. Like if you're in a band, I think the best thing that I did was just talk to everybody and anybody. Like making friends really early in your music career brings you a long way. Like you might not be with that same group of people in a couple of years, and that's okay. But like even, you know, relationships and friendships that have ended horribly, like in flames, I'm grateful for them, because I wouldn't be where I am today without it, and without those connections and people I met through them and all of those things. Like just trust the process. Don't take yourself too seriously. Make friends. Try anything and everything.
I would advise for Inspire Frontwomen. I think honestly similar to what you said, Carly, just keep going. Just don't stop. I feel like that's what I usually say when someone asks me that. What would you tell them? I'd be like, honestly, just keep going. And like in my head, that's what I tell myself. Like, you know, I always say like,
what else am I gonna do? Like with these feelings that I have, like I'm not gonna, because this is like the only healthy way that I can express these feelings is through music, and I'm just gonna keep doing it because right now, because it's good for me and my mental health, and it just happens to be like cool for the community because people like going to shows and enjoying themselves. So I would just say keep going, and have fun. And I love what you said about picking your favorite record and like listening to it. Like I know Jesse mentioned you're a fan of Joan Jett, and like I am a huge fan of Joan Jett, and I remember being a kid listening to Crimson and Clover the first time by Joan Jett, and like that just rocked my world. And I was just like, oh my god. And I remember I learned how to play it on a guitar, and just even remembering how to play a power chord, and I'm like, whoa, my fingers look like how those rock stars look like when they're playing guitar, like they're all the way over here. And even just doing little things like that, boosting my confidence and inspiration and excitement for music. But I think it's important to like stay excited and like find things that you know that will excite you to keep going too, because it's hard to keep going when you know your mental health may not be all there. Or when you have no inspiration, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like whenever I do get writer's block, it's like a matter of like listening to music that could inspire me, and yeah, I think that's my advice to aspiring for women.
Nice. I feel like I would say the same thing everyone already has said, right? Like, make friends, like find people who are gonna lift you up, not be like judgmental and stuff like that, but like people who make you feel good about yourself, who tell you like to keep going. Like something I really like about Jonas is like, he's always like, échale ganas. I'm like, I never had someone tell me that. Like, it almost felt like, it was just like, it's so nice to have people like that around you. Even just like my friends, like my friend Daniel right here sitting there. It's just, you need those people around you. And same thing, just like keep going. Don't be afraid to suck, right? Like you have to suck at first. I used to cringe so hard at myself, like watching videos of myself performing and listening to my old music sometimes. And I know other people like it, but like for me, it's just like I had to grow. You have to grow, and the only way of growing is through sucking first. And it's like, yeah. The whole rich and famous thing too, right? Like if that's what you're doing it for, that's awesome. But like that also adds a lot of pressure. And I think that's like a very capitalistic thing, right? To like, to be successful, you need to be like super rich and super famous, like Beyonce or something, right? But it's like, I don't know. I think music is for everyone. So even if you're not like a performing artist, like you can play guitar, you can take a music class, you can go out dancing. Music is really supposed to just be fun and a way to like heal, right? Like the whole somatic healing thing, like it's literally just moving your body. So I just encourage it. Do music, listen to music, play music, sing, whatever.
My advice would probably be don't diminish yourself to being just a girl. Because there's so many times in your life that you're gonna hear that, especially, I think from the time that, you know, being a woman, when you're small, people try to fit you in a box already. Like, you have to be proper, you have to sit a certain way, you have to wear certain clothes, you have to do this or do that. I think women have a lot of inherent power, and they don't want you to know that.
For real.
But
it's like they're gatekeeping it.
Yeah. Like, I mean, like you guys all talked about like having like boyfriends who were kind of non-supportive, right? And I always say, don't date male musicians. They're the fucking worst.
Never.
Their egos,
One and done. I never do it.
their egos are insane. It's crazy. And I think we, as women, kind of like from a young age, we're taught empathy. Like, we're supposed to care about other people's, cater to other people's feelings all the time. Yeah. Like, you're less important. Like, even, I mean,
you come last.
Yeah. Even like depending on your mom, like I don't know what your relationships are with your moms, but like they're like the foundation of the family, and they really don't have time to take care of themselves. So yeah, I would say, you know, put yourself first. Take care of yourself. Don't be afraid to be seen or to be heard, because there's going to be people that don't want you to be seen or to be heard, especially now with everything going on. It's important to be seen and to be heard. I will say, men only think it's their world. Like, don't let them convince you of that too.
I have like 3 things that I'd like to say. I agree with everything that you all have said because it is very, very true. I would say know your worth and your value, because people will try to talk you down and try to convince you otherwise. We ain't doing that no more. There's power in saying no. A lot of people will be like, this opportunity, if I don't take this opportunity, it'll never come. It will always come back if it's meant for you. And know when to rest, because burnout is so easy. And sometimes we feel that we need to accommodate to other people, to please other people, and to meet the expectations of other people. But all of these things apply. You know your value and your worth, and you know that you're talented, and these opportunities will always come back to you if they're meant to. And it's okay to take time for yourself. I'm gonna end it right there.
Thank you guys so much. I think we are almost just about done. We're gonna open up the floor to any questions. You guys have any questions for us? I don't know, you kind of can just shout them out or whatever you're comfortable with. If you guys have any questions.
Well, don't be shy.
All at once. No?
Could you guys talk about who other women in Chicago or just in music in general who have really inspired you the most, and what you have learned from them, and how you apply it to how you go to your music career?
Ooh. I mean, we're just like, I really kind of touched on it. I was just thinking about it. I said I saw you online. No, that's a lie. We played a show once together at Get For radio station.
That was so long ago.
Yeah, you brown hair. And I remember you were playing, and I was like, whoa, like that was my first time, like playing a show with another female led singer, and who's playing a guitar just like me, and who's also Latina just like me. And I was just like, whoa, like that was such an incredible moment. I remember feeling so like warm too, because it, like, even though I didn't know you at the time, it kind of felt like my sister, like my prima that was like playing with me, which is so comforting, because like I'm the only female in my family that has, you know, taken music seriously as a career. And then I think like, you know, Kat, I was like touching on it, like, you know, seeing you play the first DIY show I saw you play, and just like screaming your heart out, and it was so cool and emotional and beautiful. And then like everyone else here at this table, Jess, Mariah, and Carly, like whenever I do see you guys perform live or whether it's online, like, and just seeing how y'all like express yourselves, and it just like reminds me to like not overthink like how I'm performing, even though it's so easy to overthink. But I mean, me personally, I feel like I'm like inspired individually by all of you guys. And yeah, it's just like, it's hard being a front woman. There's so much pressure from all facets, internally and externally. And I feel like to, I don't know, kind of like foster our own little community, like honestly helps the road to being a front woman.
I feel like the more women that I meet in like the Chicago scene, it doesn't have to be like front women or like musicians necessarily, but the more I've leaned into my female friendships with like, you know, my awesome photographer friends, and musicians, like, you know, like I have like Z at our shows, I have my friend Alina, or like I have Meg from Yada, or like reaching out to just like any of you guys. Like sometimes like we'll talk about, you know, troubles that we're having like with our bands, and just kind of like really leaning on the women in my community in a way that I never had before, because like I didn't grow up with a lot of friends who were girls, and it wasn't until recently where like my best like friendships and like relationships have just like been brought on by women. and just remembering that, and you know, like through women you meet more women.
Yeah.
And it's really inspiring and really awesome, and just trusting them and knowing that like you always like have somebody to talk to is really cool.
I think Rita from Pixel Grip is really inspiring. She's a fucking powerhouse.
She's so cool.
Amazing.
Oh my
yeah. That and
She's so
Kat.
cool.
Yeah. I remember seeing you at Empty Bottle.
I know, I'm so
yeah.
starstruck. I was like,
No, I know. I know. Harry Birtle, right? He's like meet my friend Kat. Like she wants to meet you, and I was like, oh okay.
I was like,
Yeah, and you weren't even like, I don't know if you were actually performing that day, but you just jumped on stage for one song.
yeah, it was just
And
one song.
yeah, you jumped on stage and I was like, whoa, because you just got on there and just started doing your thing, and you were just like so bold and so confident and interacting with the audience, and I was like, holy fuck. And she comes up to me and she's like, I'm a huge fan. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I should be a fan of you because that was crazy.
Oh, that was awesome. Thanks for doing that, buddy.
I want to take a moment and shout out Brittany Lane
Yes.
from Payasa, because I just fucking love her. Like, I just love her energy. I just love like their sound collectively as a band. Like, I love their message. Like, she's always like, you know, talking about things that are important. So I just want to acknowledge her for a moment. And I used to, like, years ago, before I was like just thinking about being in a band, I worked with this girl, Hannah, and she was in a band at the time that doesn't exist anymore. But I remember like asking her for advice and being like, what do I do, you know? And she's like, you just have to do it. She's like, you just have to, that's pretty much what she said. She's like, you just have to like go get it, you know? And the biggest phrase that like I'll still sometimes to this day like say in my head, she's like, just don't be a little bitch. she's like, just don't be a little bitch. And like there's times in my life where I'm just like, I just have to say that in my head because I'm like afraid of something, and then I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Just gotta do
It goes a long way.
it really does. Like I've used it so many times.
No, I feel that. I'm always like telling myself, I'm like, just because you have a pussy doesn't mean you have to be one. Like, come on, just get it together.
Yeah, I'm super inspired by just women in general, because, and women like you all have been describing, right? Like confident, or even if that's just like the persona that they embody when they're performing, right? Like I mentioned earlier, Chapo Rowan for me, or Mon Laferte, I know I keep saying the same people. But like those are the people that like make you feel like you can do it too. Like you can also be like that, right? And like I think society so many times, all the time actually, is putting us like against each other, making us feel like we're competing or something. And it's like trying to change that mentality. Like, no, we can be each other's muse. Like we don't have to be each other's competition. And we should be like talking more with each other, right? Like, and connecting. And I know it's like super hard, especially when, again, like you just don't see enough of each other out there. But like when you do find that, it's so important to just like nurture that and continue to like uplift. So
I think like for the longest time, it was really hard to find just like girls in general in the music scene that I feel like were nice to me or that I could make friends with. And like in the more recent years, I have made some like really cool friends, which I'll definitely shout out, who are also musicians, Frontwomen. Guyan Cannon, if you haven't heard, she's beautiful, amazing, sweet angel baby. And Piwa, who's like powerhouse of vocals, but so funny. They've been like so supportive and kind, but also they're just like so talented that when I see them on stage, I'm like, yes, you do that. Like they're just, I don't know, I see definitely like parts of myself in the people that I am around, and I'm proud of that because I love them for who they are, and I think they're like so confident and supportive and just like the best community to be around. And that took a really long time to find, because for a while I was like, I don't know, it's really hard to trust out here. But like once you find your community, like it really builds you up. Yeah. And as well as you all sitting here, like I'm super, super grateful to have met all of you. But yeah, it's community is really, really important to feeling safe and secure in your craft. And I think once you find those people, I don't know, it feels like you're where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love that. I think we'll do maybe like one more question.
What was a local show that like changed your life?
Wow.
Like when you first started getting into the scene, something a band that really stuck out to you.
Local show that changed your life.
I think the first time I put out an EP, I put out an EP called Please Stop Loving Me in 2022. So I think I just turned 21, I think. I don't remember. But like I had been, playing in bands and like I've been in the scene for like over 5 years at that point. And like things just like weren't really clicking, and like it was a lot of playing to nobody for a long time. And like still like even on tour, like there's times like we were playing to nobody. But like it was like very discouraging, but like I think I believed in it so much. And then I think when I like to say, I'm like, I feel like I just annoyed people so much to come to the show. Like, but it was, no, seriously, I'm like, I'm just bothering everybody. But we were headlining an EP release show at Shuba's. And that was really big for me because like I had seen, bands that I like at Shuba's, and I never thought that I'd be able to play, something like that big, because I was just playing bars and DIY venues and basements where like 50 people like selling out book club was insane to me. Like that was crazy. It's like what, 50 people, something like that.
I think it's a 60 cap.
Like 60
that's
cap.
not max.
Like that was like that already blew my mind.
I was about to cave in.
Exactly. And so like selling that out and seeing people sing the lyrics to my songs, I cried so much. But it was the first time where I looked at, my guitarist, and I was like, oh my God, we might have something. Like there might be something to this. Maybe I should keep doing this. I think people might like it. Finally, thank God. And that was just huge. That was a huge milestone. And I think that like that changed my life. And like the people I met in that time period, like that DIY show in the U-Haul at Dark Night.
Oh yeah.
Like that's where I met like Eddie, and like we were in Invited Boys, and they like all these people in like the Fundamental Kink, and they really brought me into this different side of the Chicago scene that I hadn't been in yet. So yeah, I would say that.
I think maybe one or two more, and then a next question, unless you guys want to share.
You mentioned earlier.
A question?
As an influential frontwoman in music, what about making music is your greatest joy?
What about making music is your greatest joy? I think maybe just like expressing myself. I feel like I feel like you guys could probably relate. I feel like I harbor so much emotion and energy in me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think back to when I was a kid, listening to Madonna or The Doors or Metallica for the first time and feeling alive, and I wasn't even 100% there. Like I thought I was, and then going to shows, like I'm like, oh, replicating that feeling of feeling alive and like loving being in shows and all that stuff, and then like leading up to playing music and kind of peaking, feeling most alive. And I feel like, I think about my mom a lot. She influences a lot of like my philosophy and values, and what keeps me going. But I was thinking about like she lived a very different life than I did, or than I do. But I think about her often and how she would react living the life I live, and I'm like, man, I wish she could know what this feels like, because this feels amazing, and I feel so alive, whether it's at a DIY show or whether it's on a big show. But I think it's really just the feeling of feeling alive, being able to express myself, and having fun with like my bandmates, and being silly and getting to play around on the stage and
sing and dance and all that stuff. But yeah, I think it's probably my favorite part about being
I love
a
that
front
answer.
woman.
Yeah. My mom is here today, and she doesn't like attention, so don't worry. But yeah, like I think about that too. You know, like she was brought up completely different than I was. She was brought up in like a very religious household. She wasn't really allowed to express herself. She told me a story once of how my grandma ripped off a Duran Duran poster that she had on her wall because you know, I don't know, like within Christianity you're not like really allowed to listen to like worldly music. So I think about that and like I don't know, I wonder how she thinks seeing me like on stage or like fully expressing myself, and I'm thankful that she's allowed me and even like nurtured me to do that because she's the one who put me on to like the music that I listen to, you know, like you know, The Cure, Madonna too, Duran Duran, just all sorts of stuff. She showed me The Killers and She Wants Revenge and all that stuff. Like my parents are cool as fuck. But I'm really thankful for that like yeah, having music as an outlet, because like you said, right, like I think we're all very emotional people and it's really hard to express that. So it's nice to have that as an outlet.
I think without music, I wouldn't have like everybody in my life that I do. And
True.
it's so crazy, but like, you know, my bandmate introduced me to this one person who introduced me to this one person, and suddenly it's like we're all linked through music. And that's like my greatest joy is that everybody I know and everybody that I talk to or anybody that I've interacted with in my life has been brought to me through music. And like, that's like the best thing I could ask for.
I feel like for me, sometimes I feel kind of like a rebel, just like being an artist, because I don't know, like everyone's been saying, right? Like, I think because we're artists or singers, whatever, like we are just like super emotional, or maybe we are artists because we're emotional. I don't know. But like, again, just like expressing yourself, but really just feeling like a rebel because like, oh, like who else do I know that's like doing this kind of stuff or like really just trying to play music, right? Like, it's just such an unconventional path, like, and it's hard. It's so hard. But at the end of the day, it's like you're putting yourself on a stage, and sometimes you're super aware, like, oh my God, all these people are watching me. And then other times you're kind of like, whatever, watch me. I'm doing my thing anyway. And it's so liberating. So it's so fun. You definitely have to find the joy. And sometimes, again, it's hard, especially when you're like super aware you're being seen. But when you get past that sometimes, and sometimes you still are super aware, but when you get past that, it's so fun. So
I'll be really quick. I love the girls that come to our shows so much. I think they're so awesome. And I got a really sweet DM one time. And it was this girl, and she was kind of telling me that like our music got her through something. And it's really nice to like be able to share that pain with somebody and not feel like super alone. But she sent me a message, and she was like, you make music for the girls who will never get their revenge. And I'll never forget that. And it made me cry so hard. But I took that in, and I'm like, you know what, yeah, that's right. And it was really touching, and I think about that a lot. And I think about some of the more like vulnerable songs that I have, like I have a song called AB, and it's probably one of the most vulnerable songs like that I have. And when I see girls screaming those words at me, I'm like, it feels so good to know like I wasn't alone in this. And just like the community, like I love that girls or not even girls, just anybody, like some people like meet really good friends, like they're best friends at our shows. And like the relationships that like I could facilitate like just by putting on a show is crazy. And it makes my heart really happy. Like I love building like a little community of like really awesome, predominantly like femme and queer people. Like I think it's awesome. And I think people feel really safe, and I feel really safe with them. It's cool.
To kind of piggyback off that a little bit, I think something that makes me really happy is just like not just the cathartic release that, you know, all of us get from playing music, but like the people that come out and like enjoy it, and it just like really brings people together, and they're just having a good time, and I just like love seeing the energy. There's a couple that I met at a show one time, and they're like, yeah, we met at your album release show. And then the other day I saw that like they posted on their Instagram like their anniversary or something, and I was like, it's just awesome. Like I love that.
Yeah. That's cute.
Yeah, it's so sweet.
Fell in love at the snuff show.
Just for lovers.
Yes. That's awesome.
All right, y'all. I think we are near the end here. I just wanted to thank everyone again for being here. Thank you, Mariah, Jess, Ursula, Kat, Carly. Thank you to the audience, to the staff, to our video production team, Overdrive, National Museum of Mexican Art, and Ruidosa Art Collective, for participating in what is a part of Chicago's music scene history, right? And we are so a part of it. I think it was really important to highlight these voices in this independent scope. But that's pretty much it. My name is Yasha Regalado from Ruidosa Art Collective and Los Noir. And feel free to hang out, meet with the singers. The museum is open until 5, and it's free. And fun fact, it is the largest Mexican museum in the United States. So it's pretty amazing that we're able to do this here. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you later.